So basically, the way I've been kind of going about challenge three was really having my folders. I'm sure you can do it through VS Code. I just don't know how to show it as like the file path. So I just been following my file. How is this here? Okay, I keep following the file path. So I basically, have my direct finder on my Mac OS just to see exactly where I'm at as I'm also progressing through my VS Code. So right now, as I'm going through the aliases, so I had us create this bash file. Is that the correct terminology when it ends with .sh?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so it's having us create this custom dash functions dot sh bash file where we're creating these aliases or I guess kind of like uh I don't want to say I guess yeah they're aliases, but I guess it's a quicker way to do certain functions. So for example, this one's called create and navigate to a directory where you'll create this function called mcd. Um, and so, for example, like if instead of typing make directory, I can just type mcd. So for example, for this example that they put for this challenge, they asked us to use that function mcd to create a folder called test folder. So I can, um, let's say, so right now I'm currently in my dot custom dot slash function. So I can go cd. By the way, can you guys see my VS Code or is it too small?
Look good to me.
Okay. Um, so if I go, to shell function, let's say I say mcd um test dash folder two, it'll create it in the directory I'm currently in, which is in the shell underscore functions, and it'll create that test dash folder two, and it'll actually change me into that directory as well. um, which is pretty cool. I'm like, oh, okay, that's pretty neat. That way I don't have to navigate if I lose track of where I'm at. Then they have us create this other function called ff, and this will help us find a file by name, which was pretty cool. I mean, it's pretty cool. For example, let's say I'm going to cd. Let's try going back. Cd x dash folder. And then let me see what I have here actually. Oh, okay, it's a CD. Oh no, actually, what's it? This one, test folder. Uh, actually, no, I have to take that back. CD. I think I have all my hidden folders in shell. Oh yeah, okay. So for example, let's say I want to find um that hidden dot custom dot slash functions, which by the way, I'm not too sure why it asked us to create a hidden functions for our custom dash functions bash file. So for example, if I do that, it finds exactly, where that custom dash functions folder is located. This one was also pretty neat. So the third function was using this up function in order to navigate through directories. So it's pretty cool because then you wouldn't have to do like cd dot dot and then it would take you to one directory up and then so forth. So the example they had us do was, let me see where I wrote that. Yeah. So for example, it had us create um folders to the, I can't remember how many, but definitely quite a few. Oops, sorry. CD, and let's go all the way to four. And so when you use the up, you can say, let's say, because currently I'm in folder 4. So if you look at this, my directory, it goes folder 2, folder 3, and then inside folder 3, there's folder 4. So currently I'm here. So using the up, let's say up to, it'll take me to folder 2. So it took me from folder 4, folder 3 to folder 2. So now I'm back here. Um, And so the next one, prepare timestamp to files. This should add a timestamp and underscore to the start of any file name matching the value you pass in. So for example, timestamp folder will prepend timestamps to folder 1, folder 2, folder 10, and so on. So for that one, they had us create folders. So for example, yeah, I guess. Let me see if I had those existing already. No, okay. So let's say they had us do this. So basically create folders 2 and 3. And when oh actually uh, sorry, give me one sec. Oh so it basically had us create folders 2 and 3, and then using the timestamp underscore files. It and then like I guess the common folder with the asterisk, um it created a file which had the timestamp, I mean the date stamp, so 2026 0502 underscore folder 2. And I believe it should have done it for folder 3, which I am not seeing. Oh, I get it, because for this one, when I did touch folders 2, 3, I was currently in folder 2. So I think it only detected folder 2, so it created a file with the timestamp on it. And then this one is to remove timestamps from file names. This will remove all timestamps and connecting character and file names in present working directory. So that one, we basically just used the timestamp, if I'm correct, underscore file. No, it's spelling it. Timestamp files. And I do this one. Oh, wait, is this? Sorry, I'm like regrouping as to what I did for this one. Um, it had us to uh, 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 mm, yeah, what did it had us to remove timestamps, if I'm not mistaken. Mm, uh, wait, remove to Instagram file names. Uh, okay, let me try this, because actually, looking at the challenge, they had us create text files. Um, okay, so I'm in folder 2. They had me create these text files. Okay, and so let me try again. Um, remove timestamps. If I just typed monetize timestamps. Mm, huh. Yeah, I guess I'm stuck on, on this one. Yeah, I definitely saved this command save, and then I source. No, I don't need to source this one. I source custom dash functions dot sh. Oh, okay, maybe I didn't save it, I guess. Um, so yeah, so do it's not in here. Oh, that's right. Okay, cd, and then let me see if I have it in here. cd dot custom, and then source. Okay, so let me try that with actually
Can you do
cd.
an ls in here?
Sorry,
You do an ls in here.
ls.
Okay,
Let
cool.
me try remove. Huh, could have sworn it was just working.
Robert, can I see the function of remove timestamp?
Oh yeah, yeah, time.
Yeah, it's the same name you, I guess it's a typo.
Yeah, I think that's correct.
Mhm.
So this actually, okay, and so command save. So then to clarify, I do have to use, every time I update the bash file, I need to source, right?
Mhm.
Okay,
State.
so that's correct. So then let me try remove again. And then this, oh, actually, you can just look here. And I believe, yeah, I believe it did it. I think these texts had timestamps and now they don't. Yeah. Um, but yeah, I guess that's up to where I got to.
Nice. Looks like looks pretty solid. Looks like you have a pretty good grasp of how to navigate these commands. Looked like you felt comfortable finding your place around the environment. And I want to I want to emphasize how important that is. Several cohorts ago, early on, we noticed a trend where as we got deeper into the curriculum, students would get lost because we would jump around from environment to environment. Right now, you've been working in your local environment and will actually be SSHing later on today to a remote location. Can someone actually tell me what SSH stands for?
Secure shell, I
Yeah,
think.
yes, secure shell. What about SCP? Yep, secure copy. Both of these are essentially part of the same, I don't know if you'd even call it framework, library, whatever. They allow you to interact with remote systems, and Secure Shell itself is to connect to that remote system. So we'll see that by using SSH, we can move from our local environment to our remote environment. And the tricky thing here is that's going to look the same essentially inside of your terminal. There may be some slight differences. You'll see, for example, uh, a different label for your cursor, and that can key you in as to what environment you're inside of, right? We also tend to work in environments within environments. So when we talk about things like containerization, um, later on when we work with Kubernetes and pods, you'll be able to exec into these containers or these pods. And what this means is you're essentially running inside of a system within a system. If you have your custom functions, like you did in your example, Robbie, that's available on your local machine, but it won't be available to you, at least not directly, when you're inside of your container. It won't be available to you when you're on a remote server. And that's why we have things like secure copy. It allows you to transfer files to that remote server so you can use it. And we'll see more of that later. Oh, one other thing. You asked if .sh if you could call it just a bash file, and you can. I technically it's a shell file, right? Yes, exactly. So, but bash is just an extension of that. Both bash and zesh are, would you call them libraries? They're ways to interact with your shell, right? So you could use either or the terminology loosely. I think there's like a lot of cases in engineering where, semantics are more gray than black and white. And this is just one of those examples. Basically, if you say shell, zesh, bash, you're still getting your point across either way. Something else I wanna, let's see, where should we start actually? Yes. So let's start with Troy, are you here? You are, right?
Hey,
Cool. Uh, have you had a chance to double check the IAM users that Kim created?
I haven't, but I will start once I'm done with attendance.
Oh, there she is. Kim just hopped on.
Good timing.
Hey, Kim. Quick question, Kim. Did does everyone have an IAM account set up now? Or
Yeah, everyone should have an account now.
okay, cool. All right. If we run into any issues, we'll always, of course, be able to troubleshoot. And let's see. What happened to my window here? Sorry, I'm trying to get situated. Okay, let me share my screen. Close some of these tabs out. Oh, let's also maybe go over some additional things in Shell later on. Uh, you you all covered Shell what on Thursday?
It sounds like we did it kind of like since the beginning a little bit, and then Thursday was kind of like, our challenge was on that. Yeah.
Okay, okay. Who went through installing extensions and brew casks with you?
Uh,
I'm not sure we did that part. I mean, the instructions are there, but I'm not sure we ever went through it. At least not from my recollection. I could be wrong.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, for Install Fest, actually. Because I'm wondering basically like there are some really cool, nifty um, commands like auto jump and cool. And a few of you are nodding your heads. Has anyone set up auto jump and has started using it?
I think I did, but I don't know how to use it. I haven't used it, but I just followed the, instructions and I did it. That's what
Okay.
I did.
Okay, cool. All right, Tasney, when you just try to remember to try and use it from time to time,
Mhm.
'cause I'm curious to know like if you find it useful, if you find it helpful. I personally really like auto jump. But that might just be because I'm kind of disorganized. My folder and file structure is usually a little too chaotic, and auto jump helps me find my place real fast. And there are other tools that are pretty helpful to use. Did you all set up Olama yet? Cool. And you all have been able to get a model running locally? I also wonder, what kind of systems are you all on? Like, are people mostly on Macs, Windows? Is it an even split? Raise your hands. Who's on a Mac? That's less than half. Okay. Yeah, I can do some examples of things like auto jump later on. I think we'll have plenty of time today. Uh, okay. All right. So a little under half of you are using Macs, and the rest are using Windows. Actually, I just assumed that. Is anybody using like Linux straight up?
I am. I'm running Ubuntu on my machine.
Nice. Okay, cool. Good to know. Okay, let's switch gears. Let me start sharing my screen. Is this the right window? Can y'all see this? That is the wrong day. Let's go over to first week. Okay. So far, we talked about shell scripting, CLI, and today we're going to be talking about SSH. Hoping everyone's pretty much caught up with setting up your local environment. And we will get a chance to test out everybody's IAM user account later on. So you have the shell scripting challenges. Let's actually see this real quick. Just want to check. Still getting used to this new format. It's kind of weird. Okay, looks like today's or this morning's challenge at least is to go through roles and you get some experience with AWS. So we'll make sure that's all set up and good to go. Then we have, oh, yes, 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 yes. We will be doing some React stuff later on. Okay, cool. All right, so we talked about secure shell. That's essentially today's topic. Uh, Read through this when you get a chance. We essentially talked about the basics. SSH is a secure method for connecting to a remote system. You also have SCP, which is a command in the same family. Uh, there's some links to some background information on SSH. Good to know. Less critical, but still handy to at least know at some level is that there are different uh, encryption methods, and we'll actually see that when we make our GitHub keys later on. Uh, so here is where we're going to want to start. So get your systems ready. Everyone should be able to follow along. And let me actually switch my sharing to my VS Code. Actually, my I'm using cursor. I'll be using cursor. How many of you guys have Copilot set up? It's okay. I don't think it was in any of the readmes. I'm just curious if anybody does have. Okay. And the reason I'm asking is, well, I'm sure everyone's kind of aware the speed of innovation is really fast. At the start of the last cohort, which was about 6 months ago, the question that we had for everyone in class was, who has been using AI and LLMs? I think the more appropriate question now would be, who isn't using LLMs? Is there anyone that's not using Claude or ChatGPT or anything like that?
I
Okay.
use it to learn things, or like I just want a quick, a little deeper understanding.
Mhm.
And then now I think Google automatically, like, the top response is AI generated, because then when I read more, it like changes me to like this sort of like ChatGPT or Cloud AI sort of you can interact with. So that's the way I've been using it. And some code that I want to learn more into, I ask like, can you, you know, explain to me line by line, like what is this doing? Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah. That's Gemini, by the way. And yes, if it's free, but that's about as far as I've gotten, is what Chris is saying. Yes. Okay. Stuart, you raised your hand when I asked who isn't using it. I'm kind of curious to know why.
Well, I basically have done what Robert did as far as just using it for searches and info and stuff like that, but not much interacting beyond that.
Okay. Okay. And all right.
I use it to I use Claude to help me because I don't understand a lot of, especially like the scripting and stuff. And I'll say like, "What is this?" Explain it to me. Just breaks it down. Dad, I want to need some crowns, so I need you to write this out so I can understand this. So
Awesome. That is awesome. All right, Guy, I'm probably gonna have you demo that at some point for the class and everyone too. Like I think I'm gonna want to get a chance to see firsthand. I think it'd be great for all of us to see how we each use AI. I'll definitely be sharing some of my examples as well. And the reason I'm putting this out now is because, yes, Ashley, which one's I'll get to that in a sec. The reason I'm pointing this out now is because this is still a fairly new program, right? Like this is our second run through this revamp of DevOps program. Originally, DevOps was just DevOps. We still have that same foundation. We're starting with systems. From here, we'll be going through the DevOps uh, life cycle and talking about things like Terraform, GitHub Actions, which is your automation, your provision and automation, your CI/CD pipeline. Let me actually, I don't know if any of the lectures have this anymore, but is there anyone that's not familiar with the term DevOps? Okay, good. So essentially, it stands for development, operations. It's really more of a philosophy than a hard grounded, let's say, process or truth. Different organizations will implement DevOps in different ways. There are, like a lot of flavors and variations, like SecOps, security ops. You'll probably have noticed by now that we often refer to this program as AI Cloud Ops, just because the full name is kind of long. It's a mouthful. AI Cloud and DevOps or something like that, whatever the official name is. It's just a lot of words. So we shorthanded to Cloud Ops because we focus on remote architecture while also trying to establish the foundational DevOps beneath all of that, right? And we do this for a few reasons. I told you before about how Platoon has partners, stakeholders, supporters, companies like DRW that are very invested in the outcome of our graduates, our programs, and what we teach and what we output. And AI is definitely important. But what we've noticed is that it's not the most important thing. I suspect that's going to be changing, though. I don't think we'll reach a point where the foundational things like DevOps are going to go away. Using AI without foundational knowledge is dangerous because if you don't know the foundational stuff, then how can you know when an agent is leading you down a bad path, right? So this is still very critical and relevant, but we'll probably want to place more emphasis on the AI portion. This being our second run, I personally, when I reflected on how the previous cohort went, I believe we could have emphasized AI more, and I want to try and emphasize AI more this time around. So that's why I'm curious to know like how you guys are using it. I'm going to want to make sure we slow down and have examples, go through examples of how we all use it. So we get to learn from one another as well as from the lessons themselves. All right, Brian says he's been using LLM to create Nano Banana 2 prompts to enhance and optimize images. That's awesome for crystal engraving. That's really cool. Yeah, there's one of the great things, I guess, about LLMs in general is just the sheer amount of creativity that you can directly inject into that process. It's not that programming itself is not creative because it definitely is, but LLMs are a little less science, a little less logical than traditional programming. It's deterministic because LLMs are essentially just prediction machines, right? Back to your question, Ashley, you were asking which is useful for what? Claude is Claude has a reputation for being the preferred choice for developers. I've personally noticed myself, my own experience, that Claude is better at context, like long-term context, and so it's better suited for coding tasks. Codex, ChatGPT's flavor of the coding app, is a significant improvement over ChatGPT. ChatGPT has horrendous coding abilities. It's it's just trash, to be honest, which I believe was not intentional is not the right word, but before Codex was, released last year, it did seem almost as if OpenAI was neglecting uh, ChatGPT or ChatGPT's programming capabilities for the reason that they were focused on Codex. Codex is, I use Codex. I mean, I also use Claude. But you will notice over time, actually, like really what works best for what. And it's also going to boil down to your own use cases, your preferences as well. One thing that I do believe, my opinion, that ChatGPT and OpenAI thrive at, where Claude kind of falls short, would be the creative side. It might be how I'm prompting Claude. Again, your mileage may vary, but I seem to get a lot more personality out of ChatGPT. So when I'm doing like, I don't know, more experimental or wackier stuff, then I get better results with ChatGPT. Gemini, I mean, you'll hear opinions from all spectrums, and I've heard a few folks really defending Gemini. I personally don't use it as much. I tried for a bit last year, but I just get better results with Claude and Codex. Get to use all of them, especially since they all have free tiers. In our class, we don't enforce which one you should use. I definitely recommend just getting accustomed to using all of them. We talked about LLMs very briefly, local models earlier as well. And oh, I forgot to ask, those of you that are on Macs, I'm assuming most of you are going to be on MacBooks, maybe a Mac Air. Is anybody here on like a Mac Studio? I'm curious to know like how powerful your systems are. All right, no hands. So, what is it called? The M5 Ultra will be coming out sometime this year, probably announced in June. And the Mac Studio flavor itself, what was it? Let me think. Mac Studio M5 Ultra. I can't remember how much memory it's slated to have. Okay, so I think there might still be a lot of speculation. This will allow you to run near frontier quality models for free. And that's, I think, one of the exciting parts. Right now, our content on Llama falls short because if you're limited by how much power your machine has, right? So most of us that are on laptops can only run models as strong as, like, let's say, Quen Coder, and the results still aren't that great. But where it gets exciting is when you can start to run some of the near frontier quality models. I'm blanking on some of these. What are, let's actually, yeah, let's go to ChatGPT and let's ask what are the strongest open source models I can run on Mac Studio M5 Ultra.
And then out of curiosity, what is Mac Studio M5? Is like the newest model of Mac books or
Mac Studios and Mac Minis are like a line of small mini computers. Mac has actually phased out the tower, right? Like, didn't that happen earlier this year? There will no longer be Mac Pros. There will just be Mac Minis and Mac Studios. I um I I've only started playing around with this stuff earlier this year. I've got like a Mac Mini, 64 gig M4, and I'm very impressed so far. I'm actually really excited for the Mac Studio M5. Um, and if you are keeping up with the news, you'll probably have heard that there's a shortage, right? There's a shortage because there's just so much demand for these things. Um, so if you are interested in getting one, try to get one soon. I believe just the other day I saw some buzz around the Mac Minis being sold out. Uh, but of course, we'll talk about that a little more over time. I definitely want to share with you guys a video on how you can cluster a bunch of Mac Minis and Mac Studios to be able to run stronger models for cheap. So I'll try to remember to share that video in the Slack later on. Really interesting stuff. Um, but yes, that will get exciting. I mean, if you once you get to the point where you're using AI, and you will get to this point if you're aiming to get into engineering, because that's where we're trending, right? You'll you'll probably start to get frustrated with the limitations on these free tiers, and then you'll probably also over time start to get frustrated with the limitations even on these paid tiers. So that's where having the power of a high quality model running for free locally gets really exciting. Okay, we'll talk about that. We'll have plenty of opportunities to talk about that a lot more over time. Let's get back to talking about today's stuff, which is SSHing onto a remote server. Um, and what do we want to do? Right, we wanted to get our system set up. We have cursor. I think that's when I start to go on this tangent. I've got my machine set up. Let's make, if you don't have it already, a dedicated folder for your labs, separate from the curriculum itself, because then it'll get kind of messy. So what I have is I've got my curriculum inside of this curriculum directory, and then I've got a labs directory. So I'm going to go inside of labs. I'm going to, what is today? I'm going to make a new folder for today's lab. You don't have to follow my naming convention. Just use whatever you're comfortable with. And let's go there. And let's get started. We might actually need a filter today. I don't know why I made that. No, we might. And what we want to do is, oh yeah, we're going to check first what version of SSH we have. So if I run SSH, whoops, -v, whoops, it's going to tell me I've got this version of the SSH protocol installed on the machine. And that's just to verify that you've got it. You could also run SSH-agent, and that allows you to confirm that it is running in the background. Let me know if you're not seeing that. Otherwise, I'm going to assume everyone is seeing that. Uh, so we are going to be downloading the PEM file so that we all have that. Do we want to use the same one? I guess we use the same one. Yeah, let's use the same one. So, right. If you have this open, you could download this right now. I'll also just share a link for anyone that's not using the README at the moment. So copy, just copy link, open link, copy link. This is just copy link address. And let me toss that into our chat. I just trash talked ChatGPT. Used it 2 seconds later. Yes. What can I say? It's still useful. Um, I'll trash talk LLMs any day of the week. I kind of hate vibe coding sometimes. It kind of drives me crazy. I feel like I'm getting gaslit by these agents. The, the tricky thing about them is they're designed to sound confident, right? And I personally hate that. It drives me nuts. That's not the right link. What is this? Why is that not? Let me see this. This is not a good link. Just realize this link is broken. So let me grab the, oh, or did I just copy the wrong link? Like, I'm sorry. Like, I don't have another monitor set up right now. I usually do. And I'm like just struggling with like the limited amount of real estate on my screen here. Okay. Where did it say to download this? Okay. Yeah, that's wrong. It says to download the PEM file below, and then there's no PEM file. So let's go to AWS. Let's go to our EC2s and our keys. I don't know if I could download from here actually. Okay. There's a lot here. I don't want to create a new one. Okay, well, let's not worry about this yet. Let's maybe return to this. Troy, Kim, do you guys have the same, do you guys have the this key already? And did we use this exact same key last cohort?
Let me go double check.
Okay, cool. I can also check. I know it's going to be a mess if I do an ls.sh. Have you all talked about symbols? Can somebody tell me what this tilde is?
Which one?
Yes, it's home. This symbol, this little
Yeah,
squiggly,
that's home. Sorry, I couldn't understand.
that's definitely correct. And this allows us to shorthand reference our user directory. So I'm checking my SSH, and of course, I keep forgetting to clean this up. There's a bunch of junk. Oh, Stewart's not seeing SSH version yet. Okay, so let's figure that out. Um, we might have to hop into a breakout room afterwards, Stewart. But for now, let's see. AICO class, PEM. I wonder if I should share that. Yeah, okay, let's try this. Yeah, let's just try it. So I'm going to, what am I going to do? I'm going to D. I can command click on this directory after generating it in my terminal. I'm going to go ahead and open this in Finder. Gonna get this over to Slack. So let's, oh wait, what am I doing? I need to do, let's go up one directory. Let's go here. Let's drop that into the Slack channel. Yes. All right. This is now in Slack. Go ahead, download that, and then I'll delete it later this afternoon, and we'll find a more secure way of sharing it. Yeah, we have a Google Drive folder. Probably should have used that. Um, Once you have that downloaded, you're going to want to follow the lab, change some permissions on it. So let's do, well, I actually don't have to change permissions. Feel suspicious. Maybe it's a little sus. So I don't have to do this because I've already got the right permissions on it, but I'll do it anyway. There's no harm. Uh, I'm going to run a chmod 400 on this AICO class.pem. And can somebody tell me or guess what this does? Okay, it basically allows me to change the permissions on this file, and that's going to be important. U plus X. Oh, yeah, Chris, I definitely do not have like those permissions memorized. The only few that I like really use would be like 400, 600. Who's familiar with this quote? I think Troy, I think you and I have talked about this before. I believe Einstein was quoted as having said that he doesn't bother to remember anything that he could look up, phone numbers being like an example. I think that's more and more the case these days. One of the shifts in engineering practices and one of the use cases and arguments for LLMs and agents in general is they allow you to speed up development, right? And they do this by being really good at the easy, simple, basic stuff. They're not as good as, the complexity, design decisions, uh, anything that's going to require a lot of causal inference or ingenuity. But the basic stuff they could do real well. And it's going to be less and less important knowing things like what different letter combinations or character combinations mean what for secure shell. Basically, anything that you can reference real quick through an agent is not going to be as important as how you can prompt and guide an agent. Robbie is saying you don't think the link worked. The link that I shared is bad. I mean, if that's the one you're talking about, Robbie, let's not use that. Use what's in Slack. So nothing really matters anymore, huh? I want to go that far. I'm throwing a lot at you guys. I was about to say, and I will say this. I guess I'll just say it. I will share a video with you all that Kim and I actually saw at work, and I'll do it this afternoon. A lot of it might be not so relevant to you at this moment, but the presenter essentially pushes towards this argument at the end that what we're actually going to see is more of a demand for engineers. And that's because as we scale our reliance on agentic systems, the demand for engineers that can maintain and troubleshoot these systems will scale because there's no such thing as perfect code. There will always be bugs, there will always be failures, and agents especially are awesome and they excel at messing up code. So everyone's saying the link's not working. Is it the link to the PM file in Slack? Is that what you guys are referring to?
I am, yeah. I tried just copy and pasting and yeah, it didn't work for me. Yeah, that one. Is that the one?
Could have sworn there was like a download action. Or am I not clicking the right thing? Oh, copy link to file. No, that's not what I want.
No, I think if you hover over it, Julius, there's like a cloud download button in like the reaction kind of thing. The first one. No,
Okay.
no, no. Right below where you were at.
Right.
Right there. So at the top right of that box,
Mm-hmm.
go down. There you go. See that one? Now go over.
Oh, I see. I see. Right. Thanks.
Yeah.
Awesome. Perfect. Cool. So yes, that was yeah. Do what Jesse said. Download using this cloud button. That's what I was looking for. I thought it was in here, but that should work. If it's not working, let me know. Okay. Cool. Okay. So once you have that, let's actually get back to. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to move back to my other spot and use my monitor for the next class because I hate this. I don't like this at all. I hate using just Mac monitor. Where am I? Right, so let's go ahead, change permissions on this. Again, I've already, whoops, I keep forgetting to actually go into SSH. Now I can run that. Okay, that's gonna change the permissions on this file so that it's in a usable state. And we actually don't have the EC2 set up yet, I don't believe. So let's go ahead and set up an EC2. And we are going to now let's stick with US East 2. And let's go through this. I can't remember. This might be in today's lesson. Did you guys already do this going over like launching EC2? We move content around a lot. So I can't remember if this is actually
No, I think this is the first introduction we're getting to it.
okay. Okay. Well, it might be an early introduction because it might be something that you guys go over later on when we cover more AWS. We'll be, I talked about how this first module is about systems. We start off with local systems and then we gravitate towards remote systems. by the end of this module, the first assessment is not going to be a traditional assessment. It's actually just going to be getting the certifications. So each cert is half the grade for the assessment. And there will be content going over AWS. That might be where this is supposed to be, but repetition is good. So let's go over this real quick. This is the screen, this is the view for setting up an EC2 in the AWS console. So even if you aren't able to retain this now, an introduction will prime you for later on. So this allows you to configure your EC2. You get to name it, you get to tag it, you get to choose your AMI. Your AMI is your machine image. It's basically the system that you're selecting, right? So you have options like Ubuntu here, which should look familiar to those of you that are Windows or Linux. And then there are different flavors of Linux, like Amazon Linux, and you could choose which one you want to launch your EC2 with. Different images are essentially just different versions of Ubuntu, right? Which means they'll work the same or less for the most part, but they will come with different starting libraries and packages. So one might use a package manager like DFS. Another might use a package manager like Yum. And you'll notice throughout the cohort that there'll be instructions for one or the other. And usually the lesson will also tell you use this or that, or you might have options between the two. We definitely want to encourage variety because again, we want to try and teach the foundational stuff and not just, black and white process. If you know how to install and navigate through managers like DFS, then you can infer how to use something like Yum. And you could use agents to convert a command for you. So if we have a lesson that's showing us commands for DFS, and you just happen to pick a system that uses Yum, just throw it into an LLM, ask it to translate it, and it's not going to be perfect, but you should be able to get through it. Okay, so we are going to just go ahead, set up an Amazon Linux machine. We're going to set up this architecture. We'll select an instance type, and I want to emphasize this right now. You'll have options, but you should stick to free tier eligible options for class. So let's stick with the T3 micro. Now let's select the key pair. Oh man. I wonder if we should just make a new key. I know you guys already downloaded. Did I rename this? Why do I have this? Why is it not showing up? Uh, I wonder if this is the same one, just like renamed. No, it's just what's that JV in front of it mean? We might have to download another key. AI ops dev, because I can't remember why the hell the names are different. Here's CP class. That's the one that we reference inside of the lesson, right? I must have renamed that at some point locally. Let's see if this is it. If it's not, then we'll see if we can download this one. But yeah, let's try this for now. Okay, so I'm selecting my key pair. I am setting up some network settings. A lot of the stuff you'll usually leave alone. This here is important though. Where you allow traffic from. By default, it's going to be anywhere. Not the most secure thing, but for the purpose of class is what we'll usually use. And we don't keep EC2s up for long. The practice is you're going to spin one up and then pretty much destroy it when you're done with your challenges or your lab because they do cost money. So we have a tool called Bloodhound, which will seek out long-running EC2s and it will turn them off for you if they've been on for a while. So be mindful of that. Anything that we do on an EC2, don't expect to be setting up a permanent workspace. So keep that in mind. I think everything else is good to go. We aren't going to be actually, I am going to go ahead and I'm going to click on this as well. I since one of the challenges, especially this afternoon, will be launching a LAMP stack, which allows us to run a static app. We'll want to be able to see it from the browser, and that's what this allows us to do. If we don't have this checked, then we wouldn't be able to access the EC2 from our browser. So I'm going to check that. Configure storage. I'm going to leave that alone. I'm going to leave all of this alone, and I believe I should be good to go. So let me hit launch instance. It's going to go ahead and launch. It's successful. So now,
Wait, what are we following? Sorry, I'm not seeing, or where are you purposely not sharing what?
oh shoot, I thought I was sharing the entire. Oh wait, this is what I was doing. You're not doing this. I was sorry. I thought I made it clear. This is just um
Oh, okay.
a setup step. You don't need to do this yourself right now. You might for the labs later on, or we might just all use the same EC2. I'm just getting this set up for us all to use. We're going to SSH onto this. So let's get back to this lesson. This command is what allows us to point to an EC2 address. And then it also allows us to pass in an argument, -I for identity, which allows us to specify the key that we either selected or created to restrict access to. So let's go ahead and SSH onto that. And you will see as well from this view, which you're not on right now, if you click on an EC2, there will be this button, connect, that allows you to see different ways of connecting, right? So if I could hit that, I see these 4 tabs. If I click on SSH client, it gives me the command I need. Very handy. I could just copy, click this command. So let me copy that. Let me go back to my terminal. And if I paste that in and I change this out with AIC class, I'm really hoping that this is the same key that I just renamed. It's going to ask you to confirm. I'm going to say yes. Oh, I want me to type the whole thing out. Okay, this is not the right key. Wait. Not either. Just like guessing at this point. Was it this one? Of course, I could also just open up these keys one by one to confirm, to check the contents against the one that we have in Slack. Let's just make a new one. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to spin this down. I'm going to make a new key. So let's go ahead and terminate this instance. Termination, it's going to be permanent, so it's going to be gone forever. And let's go ahead and launch another one. T3. Really curious. There's two of these. Jesse, is this your key?
Yeah, those are the ones that I set up last time.
Oh, that's what the JV is. Okay, I have no idea why I don't see my keys. Maybe AI Ops Dev is what it is. I don't think I'll be able to see this, but let's see. Yeah, I don't want to burn too much time here trying to guess. So let's just make a new key. We get to choose our key pair type. General rule of thumb is you want to use the newer encryption method. And when you're working with legacy systems that require compatibility, is when you'll want to use a legacy method. There are also times where it doesn't really matter, like right now. So I'm just going to stick with RSA, and we're going to call this AICO echo. Creating the key pair, it's downloading the key, and I'm going to go ahead and toss that into Slack, wherever Slack is. Of course, it's not popping up. And my Zoom view is in front of that, so I can't see it. Okay. So let's get that there. All right, so that second key should be up. Let's go back to cursor. I believe it's in my downloads directory. So what I could do is I could do MV for move, tilde to reference home, go to my downloads, and ooh, if I hit tab to try and autocomplete, I would be able to list all of my files, but I have way too many. So I could limit that search by starting with the ICO, tab to autocomplete, and notice how it's starting to, it gave me that dash automatically, and now it's also showing me what options I have. I can type E for echo, and if I hit tab to autocomplete, it's going to autocomplete for me because that's the only remaining choice. So if I reference that and I move it here, somebody tell me what the dot symbol is.
Current directory or current area you're in.
Yeah, that's right, current directory. Yeah, you can refer to it as your current working directory, your present working directory. PWD is present working directory. There is also CWD, which is current working directory. Again, it really boils down to what system you're using. Speaking in English, anyone can infer what you mean when you say either or. Okay, so I'm going to copy that over here, or I should say move it. And now, oh, right, we got to launch this. We actually got to launch this. Let's click this. Let's launch it. Let's give it a sec to spin up. Uh, it's going to have a different address. So let's wait for this to finish. And we should be able to SSH onto this one. Right. Can somebody tell me what I haven't done, what I've forgotten to do? It's the chmod. So this is a new key, so now I do actually have to run chmod. And the nifty thing about this view is it will remind you. So it says to chmod this key. So let's go ahead and do that. Already moved it, so it should be in here. Chmod 400 AICO echo.pem. Cool. Now I should be able to connect to that. Ta-da! I am on my EC2. So notice how the label changed, right? So this is how I know that I'm on the EC2 versus my local machine. It's not always going to be so obvious when you're working on, well, first off, different instances with different images may have a different view for this, or not really view, but a different label. And second off, when you get to whatever work environment you land in, if you are looking for a job at the end of this, then you may be working entirely in cloud, or you may also be working in a combination of cloud architecture plus traditional infrastructure, right? So if you're SSHing onto like a remote system, it simply might just show something else. Same with cloud architecture with any other provider, Google Cloud, uh, Oracle, Azure. In any case, you'll get the muscle memory of knowing what environment you're in the more that you use it. We're now on the EC2. What do we need to do next? Let's go back to the lab. And of course, now the Zoom is blocking my view. Okay. Um, we don't do this anymore. This basically shows how everybody has their own directory in the EC2. We don't do that because we tear down the EC2s, and it's annoying to have to do this every time. But what you should see when you're on here is an empty directory. But if you do an ls-a, you'll see that there are things like your basic bash files. And then there's that also that SSH directory that was created by the system itself. So if we do an ls to the .ssh, we'll see authorized keys, do a -a, because there isn't. How is it? Authorized keys a file. If I do cat, which is short for concatenate, authorized keys, it shows me the key that is authorized. And that's the key that we signed in with. So that was generated by AWS in the system automatically. And that's what you should be seeing when you SSH onto it. Is there anyone that's not able to SSH onto the machine?
Do you have to give us something? So I was able to get the key, but haven't been able to get onto the EC2.
Okay. Walk us through what you've done and
So I did the key where I could see my key in the downloads, ls uh, that SSH see it. So I just need to get on. I guess I need something from you. Is that what it's saying?
Did you run chmod on it?
Uh, uh, yeah, ran SSH. Oh, maybe I did.
Okay. And once you run that, oh, right, I should probably copy paste this for you guys because you probably can't see it yet. Yes, let me share this because it's not easy to type, just especially from the screen. So here in the Zoom chat, I don't know if you see it doesn't share the Zoom chat in the video. I just shared it in the Zoom chat, so you could copy it there, run that command, and that should let you SSH onto the EC2. Okay.
By the way, is there a command to install SSH? Because going through the README, I get a different command when I do SSH/version.
Are you, what system are you on?
I'm using the uh, Windows subsystem for Linux.
The version should not matter. So we shouldn't need to install another one. If you have it, and it was showing something different from what I had earlier, that should be fine. Can you try connecting to the EC2 and let us know if you can or can't?
Understood?
Cool. Yes, that is normal. Oh, you're seeing permission denied. We're to the end.
Yeah, so am I.
And this is still using the initial echo dash, I mean, ICO dash echo dot PEM that you shared on Slack.
Yeah. Robbie, can you
Oh,
share your screen? Can you? Yeah, I want to see what you guys are doing.
you asked me to share screen.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. Oops. Oh, come on. We want to auto. Okay. Yeah. So I basically, so I CC to my dot SSH directory. And then I did the I downloaded the ICO dot I mean slash I mean dash echo dot pem, and then I CC to my dot SSH directory. Then I did shim change mode 400 ICO dash class dot pm. I listen, you can see it's right here. And then I did um the line of code you sent us via Zoom, which is this one right here, and that this was the output I got. So it did ask me, "Are you sure you want to connect?" I accidentally typed Y instead of yes. So it spells it out for me. Please type yes. So I put yes. So I did it wrong, incorrectly the second time, and then the third time, and then that's when I finally got that warning as I permanently added to this. But then towards the end, it's just permission denied, public key, and all of this stuff.
Yeah. Use the second key that I provided, and I'll delete the first one from the Slack.
Okay. See chat. Second key. By second key. Uh,
There's one that's called aico-echo.pem.
yeah, that's the one I got from Slack.
Well, why did you why is it called AICO dash class? There were two keys. I deleted the first one.
Um, where are you seeing that? Um, dash class. Um,
Yeah, where it says chmod 400.
oh yeah, okay. Let me see. Okay, now I'm confused as to what I did.
I believe you downloaded the first key, and that's what you were trying to use, right?
Yeah, so it's dash class is so sorry, the dash class is not the one you shared.
No, that's on me. I was guessing. That's what it was. Um,
Well, okay, so there's another link. Okay, I see, because it's two different pens.
yeah.
Now I can't remember what I did. So
No,
let's
I'm
see.
using the Echo Pen and I'm still getting the exact same error.
I can't remember what I downloaded. Uh,
All right. Yeah, try downloading the other one, Robbie. And Brian, can we switch to you sharing your screen? Can I see what you're doing? Okay. Was anybody able to connect?
I
I was
was.
able to.
Yeah, I got in.
Okay. Let's see. Why is this happening? You are on a Windows, but is there anyone on a Windows that has connected?
I have.
Okay. Go back, Brian. Go back. Can you share? I think I noticed something. chmod. Okay, so you did the chmod on aico-echo.pem there, and then you tried the SSH. Type yes.
Is it maybe because you ran sudo chmod and you're not sudoing when you SSH? So you may just need to run chmod 400 as your normal user without sudo and then try SSH.
I yeah. Try that. I'll try what Jacob said. I do think Brian tried using chmod without sudo earlier, but I think that was right. I saw like that wasn't operation not permitted. Try SSHing with sudo. Cool. All right. So when you ran sudo on the chmod, it changed the mode for the super user, the root user, not the user that you're signed in as, which is why the SSH without sudo didn't work. And that's just, I think, one of the quirks with working on with with Ubuntu through Weasel. On a Mac, you don't have to run sudo generally. Like Mac flavor of Linux is a little friendlier and easier to use, user friendly in some areas.
I never heard it called Weasel before. It's kind of funny.
Yeah, I used to always say WSL, and then one of the students from a few cohorts ago called it Weasel, and it's just easier to say, and it's funny. Okay, cool. If anybody else is running into issues with SSHing, let us know. We could try to troubleshoot after this. Let's try to run through this. I feel like I'm going really long. I don't like to have electrical labs go on longer than an hour, and I'm like way past the hour mark. So let's try to get to the end of this, and I'll try to not go on any more tangents. We SSH. Oh, let's try SCPing some files, right? So let's just do this quick exercise right here. So if we could SSH, then we should also be able to SCP in theory. So I am on my remote, but
You're not sharing your screen.
Yes, the screen.
Oh, I saw, right. I stopped sharing. Thank you. Okay. So sharing this. You guys can see this. All right, so I'm on, as we could see, and I am going to open up another terminal. I'm going to split this terminal. You could do that with this plus button here and the down arrow. And this lets you split the terminal. I believe you could also right click and do the same thing. So having multiple terminals is really handy for all sorts of reasons. In this case, we'll be able to see that we're in two different locations at once.
Julius, I have a quick question.
Sure.
So I did the entire thing in iTerm in the terminal, not the VS Code. How do I transfer the entire, the new environment over to VS Code?
You shouldn't have to transfer the environment
Or
because your environment like persists, like let's say at the system level, right? Uh, Now different terminals may load different configurations, but that generally shouldn't be the case. So if you open up VS Code now and
Mhm.
you open up the terminal, I believe Command J, if you're on a Mac, is the shortcut.
Mhm. Yep.
Uh, what do you see?
I see the terminal and I'm in PWD. Okay, in my previous exercise file, so script. Yeah. Do I go back in home and then
Yes. Go back to, it technically doesn't matter, but yes, you could go back to your .ssh directory in your home.
and that's how I get the new, like, I don't know, the username and all?
Oh, no, this is from running the SSH command. So once you're in the SSH directory, then you
Mm-hmm.
run SSH-I,
Okay.
mhm. And that should
And
be in Slack, or sorry, not Slack, Zoom. I should have pasted that in Zoom.
okay. So do that part and the following part in VS Code, and I'll get the exact things going on in my return. Gotcha. All right. Thank you.
I like VS Code, the VS Code terminal because it's right here integrated into the same view, which is handy. I don't have to switch screens constantly or finagle with how I've got my screens or my windows sized, which I find annoying, which is why I wish I had my larger monitor. So once you run this, you should be able to see what I'm seeing. You have a split view. You are local in one view, and then you are also connected to the EC2 in the other view. So if you can run SSH, then you should also be able to run SCP. So let's try this out right now. Let's try this out by using touch to make a file. So my file.txt and touch just creates the file. If you're using VS Code, there's also this very nice convenience method called code, which allows you to open up a file or a folder directly in VS Code. So instead of having to do like touch my file.txt and um, using Vim or Nano to edit it, you could just add it straight up in VS Code. And if this code command isn't working for you, all you have to do is Command Shift P to open up your palette, and in your palette, search for code. And this will give you the ability to install the code command. So again, if you can't get code to work, open up your command palette with Command Shift P and install using this line. Once you have it installed, you'll be able to open up the file. As so, I'm going to say hello world, and I'm going to close this after I save. Now I can use, oh, let's just go ahead and actually, I guess the repo demos Nano. I personally don't like Nano, but this is what that is. Nano and Vim are both terminal editors, terminal file editors, I should say. So if I do a nano on my file.txt, I get to just edit it straight up from my terminal. And the thing about nano is some people find this a lot more user-friendly. I don't. I just don't know why. It's like noise to me. Like I can't ever remember how to save write out. It is write out, right? So let me.
You can control S too, just like a Word document. You can control S.
Okay. Is it going to be Command S on a Mac?
Yeah, I guess weirdos.
All right. I'm not sure if this is actually working. I'm like hitting it and it's not doing anything. Unknown command, Command S, or sorry, Control S doesn't work.
Try control, I think it was O.
That was control O
Yeah, control O.
in there.
I also thought when you're using Nano and you close the file, so like when you go to Control C, it'll ask you, do you want to save changes? And you can just hit yes. That's usually just what I do.
Okay.
And it just writes it for you.
Yes. Awesome. Yes, because to me, Control O is not intuitive. O is for opening. So I just hate how Nano is set up to do that. So that's me. That's my own personal bias against Nano. So if I save, I should be good. So let's go ahead and hit enter. I guess X to exit. I thought I saved it. Oh, I hit enter by accident. That's why. I'm just gonna hit yes to be safe.
Yeah, I think you have to do Command O, and then the tab is for enter to save, and then yeah, then you do Command X to exit. Yeah.
Okay. That's why I prefer them. It's just simpler. I mean, maybe for some people it's not simpler because it's not intuitive. Like what do you do here, right? Well, you have to press I to go into insert mode, which isn't intuitive. It doesn't tell you that. So you just have to like know that and remember. And then once you type some stuff, you would do a colon or not colon. What is it? Escape. Escape to get out of interactive mode, and then a colon to enter a command, which in my case, I'm going to want to write. So I do a W exclamation point. Bang is just basically saying, do what I say, no matter what. And it writes it. Okay, so I know, I guess this isn't intuitive at all. But preferences, right? I'm just more used to them. Now I can do a Command Q to quit, and that's them in a nutshell. All right. So once you've got your file, like I was saying, if you could SCP, or sorry, if you could SSH, then you could SCP, right? So I don't want to type this whole thing out again, just a bunch of numbers. I could just press up a few times to go to my command from the history, delete the SH and SSH, and add a CP. Now, this alone isn't going to work because SCP has some additional arguments that you need to pass in. So with SSH, all we need is this because this second argument is where your secure shell connecting to. And with SCP, that's only one half of the equation. You also have to specify where you want to copy the file to because this is just where we're copying it from. So this is the destination. I'm going to leave that as is. I'm actually not. I'm going to change it, but I've already moved here. So I'm going to add an argument for where this file is located, right? So this file is inside of my .sh directory. It's called aico-echo.pem. I'm just going to type that again. Oh, and I should probably make sure that, actually, I don't think I need to type that. I'm just going to type, I want to make sure, I want to confirm this. I'm just going to type dot, the symbol for this working directory. And it should be able to just find it. And what I'm going to add here is a colon to specify that this is the remote server. And now on that server, I want to send it to this path in the system. And I'm just going to send it to my home directory .ssh. So the .ssh directory in my home directory. If I hit enter, yeah, okay, I have to put in the whole. Well, right. I don't know why I was thinking that. Yeah, of course I have to specify. I don't know. I got confused, but right. The confusing thing is I'm like seeing AICO-echo twice, right? And yeah, just don't let that throw you off. Like just threw me off. Um, this AICO-echo.pem is the parameter that I'm passing into the -i argument. And that's going to be separate from this second argument. This second arg is for specifying the file that I want to send. So this first one is for the file I want to use to SSH and to SCP. And then the file that I want to send just happens to be that same file. Okay, what am I doing? I'm so sorry, guys. I'm like jumping around here. Okay, that's not what we're sharing. We're going to be sharing the file we created, right? Okay, so I actually want to share my file.txt. Okay, so that's the file I'm sharing. And then it doesn't really matter where I put it. I could probably just put it in my home directory on the remote server. And now I'm going to hit enter. It might complain. It might want me to specify the file name. I can't always remember. Like I mix these details up a lot. So I'm just going to try it, hit enter, and cool, it worked. Since I've already specified the file name, by default, it's going to use that same file name when I copy it. If I specified a different file name, then it would use that different file name. So if I do my file copy.txt, this should work as well. Oh, but it didn't mean it. Well, maybe it did. And let's do an ls. And now we see that we have both files. Okay, so again, you still need this first argument for SCP to specify how you want to connect with what permission key. And then you specify the file that you want to send, and then you specify the destination. All right, let me know if you run into any issues, then we'll troubleshoot. And how are we all doing? Do we need a break? I see a few nods. Let's take 15. Okay, cool. When we get back, we're gonna knock out the SSH key portion. I'm gonna open up, actually, I'm not gonna open up breakout rooms. Sorry, what was that? Oh, I don't know if that was anything. Ashley, sorry, you're kind of, you broke up there. What was that? I think your video is frozen. Okay. Let's go ahead and break. I'll still hang around here if anyone does have questions, but let's meet back here at 10:15.
I'm just off camera, but if anyone has questions for me, just yell out Troy and I'll come get you.
Hey, Troy, can I connect with you in a breakout room?
We can. Let's see if we have any opened up. I don't see any breakout rooms available. If you're comfortable, we can do it here, or when Julius gets back, we can peel off.
Oh yeah, let's just peel off later. But thank you though.
Okay. Yep.
Oh, by the way, Julius. So I was troubleshooting some stuff, but right now I was trying to SSH, and I got a permission denied and some stuff. I'll copy paste what I got. Yeah, I was wondering if you could help me troubleshoot that real quick.
Sure.
Let's see, so this is what I got. Yeah, when I tried to run it.
Can you also share what you ran before that?
Okay. Um, let's see. So prior to that, well, I guess now that I think about it, for the uh, for the for the RSA key that you gave us, I just made this file and then I put it in there. But I guess maybe I need to link that information um, to the SSH SSH query. So yeah, sorry if you could maybe
Actually,
yeah
you said you made that key locally?
yeah I did. I made it in a folder.
It,
But I guess I now that I think about it, I didn't link it to the um yeah to the query. Yeah, because I was just trying to follow the instructions on the yeah on the ICO page. Um, I guess I could share my screen real quick. All right, one moment.
Because I just want to say, if you're trying to connect to the EC2 that I made, you have
Uh-huh.
the key that I provided in Slack.
Oh yeah, I grabbed it from Slack. I grabbed the text and then I put it in the PEM file.
What? Why'd you rename it?
Oh, why did I rename it? Well, I mean, it wasn't in a file. I just I see. You wanted us to just download it.
Hmm.
Okay.
Hmm.
Okay. I mean, I'll try that instead than the Echo PEM key. I'll have it that way.
Yeah,
Let me go ahead and I'll give that a try.
sure.
By the way, this may help him, but were we supposed to modify our SSH file
The
in any way?
one that you downloaded?
No, because I remember I was kind of going back and forth, but I remember people talking about, or maybe you said we had to modify our SSH file. I kind of just used the file explorer, copied it from my actual machine to my Ubuntu,
Mhm.
and wherever I ran the command, the file needed to be there. So I don't know if we were supposed to modify like L- our Linux SSH file.
Yeah, the modification was through the chmod command.
Oh, so like the PAM file, not like the system SSH file.
Right. If you're referring to like anything that's generated by the system or like by the SSH agent, yeah, you don't need to touch any of that stuff.
Oh, thank God. Because I got into the AWS and I was like, this seemed a little bit too easy. Granted, it may just be that my system just was okay.
Cool. Yeah. And you'll get to play around with it a bit more like later on when you spin up your own EC2s.
Yeah, I have more time for things to break at that point.
Yeah, definitely.
Hey, Julius. Um, I still haven't been able to get into AWS. Is there somewhere that we were sent that information to be able to log in?
Not yet, no. I don't think we've sent that information out yet.
Okay. I just wasn't clear on whether or not we had already been able to do that.
Okay. Now let me double check. I think we might be doing that this afternoon, and we can maybe do it early, just so you guys can also use the rest of your morning. Do this. Just double check here.
Just to be clear, people have been spinning up EC2s already, right? No?
They shouldn't.
Okay.
Is my service better now?
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Because I was going through the boonies and I think it was chopping up, but I sent a screenshot of what I was referring to in Slack because I can't do it on Zoom.
Mhm.
But before I go like move forward, I'm just like I don't want to break anything, you know. So I'm just going along with the lesson, and I saw that it said create your own working directory, but
Hmm.
I didn't see any other names, so I'm like a little confused on that.
Oh yeah, yeah. We used to do that, and it doesn't hurt.
Okay.
But basically, the reason that I stopped demoing it is because we just tear down the EC2s anyway. Uh,
Okay.
the classes used to move a lot slower, so this is just like leftover from like a way older version of this lesson.
Okay. Okay. Cool. But I didn't like mess anything up though, basically.
Oh no, not at all. Yeah, no.
Okay.
Basically, like you just added a new folder, so it's like a non-destructive action.
Okay. Cool. Thanks. I was just freaking out, not knowing if I should X out of Visual Studio. All right. Thanks.
Yeah, no worries.
Oh, and Julius said, yeah, it worked when I just downloaded it and used it instead. Um, yeah, I guess probably what I made it wasn't executable, so maybe I had to change that to executable. But either way, I just downloaded the one that you had instead. So yeah, I'm in now. Thanks.
Cool. Yeah, that could have been it. It could also just be the nature of Slack. So basically, copy pasting manually is usually unreliable or less reliable than other means because when you're working between contexts, you're essentially beholden to how the developers have written that application. So if Slack is rendering all that text in one way, there could be any number of things that are invisible to us, invisible characters, invisible white spaces, invisible new lines. Copy and pasting using your system command from Slack might just give you a slightly different version of that key, which is what's causing the permission denied.
Okay. But I mean, even if that were the case, the file would still have to have like executable permissions, right?
With the chmod, yes. But you said you ran the chmod on the other key and it wasn't working either, right?
Uh, yeah. Wait, did I? Let me double check. Yeah, I did and it didn't work. So yeah, you might be right.
Right.
Yeah.
Chris, let's see. Looks like somebody emoji. Okay.
I was gonna say, I was gonna have him send me a screenshot in Slack, but Chris, if you're comfortable, you can share your screen and we can all troubleshoot together.
Sure, actually, the house is awake now, so we can come off camera. Let's see. Let me know if you can see my screen. Should be this side monitor over here. So I've got my SSH directory stored the PEM 400 for the file. Does that setup and structure look right?
Yes, so far.
Sorry, can I just ask one quick question? Should we just make our own files with our names in the directory, the EC2 that you made?
You can, but I'll be deleting that EC2 in like an hour or so.
Oh, okay, I gotcha. Thanks.
Mhm.
And then I'm assuming we're all coming in as the same user.
Yes.
And then this is the IP address from the Slack channel. I don't know if that's the same or
I believe you're missing the rest of it.
It's TAC V. You don't need the TAC V in there, just TAC I. in the command. So in your SSH command right there, remove the V. Yeah.
That makes no sense.
Tech V is for version. So that would be SSH version, and Tech I is telling it to use that key that you were pointing to.
So, so I did it outside of the SSH directory. Would that have caused this failure?
Yes, because you're passing in just the file name at that point, and so it's going to look for that file in that directory that you're in. You could have before the AICO-echo, you could have done a tilde /.ssh. So you're specifying the exact path that it's in.
Got you. So I'm just trying to write this to memory, if you will. So whenever I SSH, I either have to be inside this hidden folder or I have to know to point SSH, hey, go find this SSH key in this hidden folder to connect to this.
Exactly.
That sounds like a huge pain.
Yes, but there's an easy way of remembering that, and that's by just asking yourself, is this a relative or absolute path? Has anyone gotten over that earlier this week?
Briefly, but I feel like this SSH key should say, hey, when you get this PEM, go hunting in this hidden folder, right? Everyone's got this hidden folder. All the keys live here.
The thing is, that's an assumption, right? And your system doesn't have to be set up that way. You can also customize your system another way. You're right, though. Amazon could have programmed their EC2s to output like the exact path in the shortcut that they have you copy paste. And at a system level, the program could have been written to make that assumption, but generally you want to avoid making assumptions with anything programming related. You want to be as declarative as possible.
I think this goes into like what I brought up earlier, that I just had that file where I have all my files for this cohort. And that's why I was confused. I didn't realize we were supposed to put it in the hidden file. I just did it from a regular directory.
Yes. And if you had it in that regular directory and you ran the SSH-I
Mhm.
in that directory, it would have worked.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have to be in .ssh. It's just best practice to have it inside of .ssh.
Okay. So really, wherever that key lives, I could have ran it from and tricked it into believing it. But best practice, hide your SSH keys in the hidden folder.
Exactly. Yes.
I'm assuming since we're gonna have multiple virtual environments, it's better to just have them all in one place.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, like you saw with mine, even like having all my keys in one place, it still gets messy. Can you imagine having to like look for keys all over your system?
Yeah,
Is,
find.
is there a reason why like hidden directories is a thing?
Yeah. Uh, let's think about it from like the perspective of like your own personal convenience. A, so if you are in a folder with a lot of files, like let's say you're developing an application and you're working from your terminal constantly, having the hidden folders will A, just sort of abstract out all of the stuff, the more sensitive stuff that you don't need to see all the time. B, it's there to also allow you to mentally and cognitively separate it, right? So that context is out of sight, out of mind generally. And so you don't have to, I don't know, waste like a millisecond of cognitive load thinking about it. Then there's also like the external reason, like there's security. What if you're sharing your system with coworkers or colleagues? Um, it's just best practice. to have that extra layer of security.
So in a sense, it keeps kind of like, because I know thus far we used it for like our aliases. So for example, that ZSHRC, and then for our custom functions. So I guess that's like one, I guess, common use for those hidden files is to have sort of like those, um, I guess, things that a user, uh, sorry, I'm trying to think. Um, I guess, yeah, I guess I understand that, it's just something that whoever developed it's kind of for their own kind of how do I put it, knowledge. And then users can, whoever's using, they could just know like, oh yeah, we created, you can use this function because it's in the hidden. Um, yeah, okay, I think I understand. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And these are great questions because it gets you to start thinking about, at a conceptual level, why things are the way they are, right? And that's a very good practice to have, to just always question why. Now, if we sort of like reverse engineer this or like trace back to the roots, again, a lot of these are just going to be practices. Do we really have to do it this way? Or are we just doing it this way because that's how people have been doing it for years, for decades, right? And that's always going to be a pertinent question, no matter what kind of context you're working in, because sometimes you do want to innovate and change things up. Other times you'll want to stick to convention because it's simpler and it's easier for more people to follow. Since we're all like following this convention of .ssh, if you were writing a tutorial on how to do something that requires an SSH key, you could just presume in your tutorial that folks are going to have their stuff inside of .sh. And if you have your system set up differently, then you probably set it up differently. So you'll know when you're following a tutorial how to change the instructions to suit your own personal environment, right? Really, the best practices and the norms, they're established to add the convenience of being able to communicate these to one another, right? Because you don't program in a nutshell. Programming is very collaborative. There's not really a point in programming if you didn't have users that were going to use your code. And the more complex things get, the more unrealistic it is to be programming in that nutshell. You're going to want to be pulling in other people, working in teams, scaling that code, etc. So these best practices, they've been established over time, and generally they're always followed uh, because that's why they're called best practices. Something else that you'll see, for example, if you have already installed Olama, is my sharing. Let's see. Is that again, people generally follow these conventions. So if I go to my home directory and I do an ls-a, what are some of the things that we see here? We see Olama. We see Cursor. We see Copilot. We see Codex. All of these developers developing their apps just follow this convention of putting your application's critical files inside of this hidden directory in your home directory so that they're not cluttering your home directory. It's just the norm. Do they have to do it that way? No, but
So I got a question on that. If you recursively remove a directory, is that going to smoke all the hidden files too?
yes.
Ouch.
Yeah. So be very mindful of, especially,
I was going to say, I've done that ls in a directory and be like, oh, there's nothing in here. And then that's not the case.
well, that is a learning experience. And now you know.
That's an RGE, a resume generating event.
Cool. I love these questions. So just always bring them up when you have them. Good stuff. Let's see where we at. Okay, it looks like most folks are back. Some people still have their cameras off. So if you're back, have your camera on so I know you're back. And let's continue. I know we're moving a little slow here, and I feel like I'm throwing a lot at you guys, but no one's complained yet, so I think we're good. I think we can keep moving at this pace. We will try to speed things up a bit so you'll have time to work on these challenges in the breakout rooms. And I think we really only have a few things left to do. So let me, I'm already sharing. I'm not trying to share. I'm already sharing. We, oh, this one's going to be fun. We're going to set up a GitHub SSH key, which you'll need to interact with GitHub from your, why do we do this?
Quick question before we jump into the GitHub keys.
Sure.
Are we supposed to do anything with this EC2? Like I logged in, hooray. Can I leave before I break anything?
Yes, you can. Once you've signed on, you can go ahead and leave. There's nothing else to do there. It's there just to give you a quick intro to SSHing onto a remote environment. And later on this afternoon, you'll be making your own EC2s and you'll be connecting to those. And on your EC2s, you will be following this afternoon's exercise, which has you creating a LAMP stack. So off the bat, you're already going to be serving your first application.
I'm gonna start applying for jobs.
Right on. Let's see. Yeah, so this is what we'll be doing later. We get onto an EC2 and we install LAMP, which stands for Linux, Apache, MariaDB, and my PHP, I believe. LAMP stack is a very old stack at this point. So let's explore the question of relativity here. Is this relevant to anything outside of the context of this? Maybe not. But if you do land in an organization that's using Apache, that's using this exact stack, then it's going to help you, right? But the point isn't to learn the LAMP stack itself. Like that's just an example. The point is to get the experience of getting onto a remote EC2 and setting up a server. Once you've done this with a LAMP stack, you'll be able to do it with why am I blanking? Other things like GUnicorn or I can't believe I'm blanking on the one that we normally use for React. Uh, Nginx. I don't know why that was so hard. But yes, you essentially follow the same pattern, and we'll see that later this afternoon. So that's what you'll be doing on the EC2. Uh, if you need a reminder on how to spin up that EC2, it's inside this resource directory. So if we go back to the lessons, and this is for the afternoon lesson, there's going to be a page resources directory. Click on spinning up the EC2. That's where you can have a walkthrough available of how to spin up that EC2. Because you might need it. Going over information just once usually is not enough to retain the information, which again is why we emphasize repetition, repeating topics over and over, drilling them in, and getting firsthand experience doing them as well. Okay. So let's go ahead and begin setting up our SSH keys. The first thing we're going to do, well, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to close out all these tabs. And now I'm going to go to the top of my GitHub. I'm going to right click on my icon. Wait, no, I'm not. I'm going to left click on it and I'm going to go to settings. And that's what I'm going to right click on just to open a new tab. You don't have to open a new tab. I just prefer it. Uh, but once you're in your settings, you want to look for this item here, SSH and GPG keys. You are going to make a new SSH key. You can name it whatever you want. But let's leave this window open and let's go back to the README. This is where you'll be placing your key, but you're going to make that key locally first. Okay. So once you have that open, switch over to your VS Code or your terminal if you really insist on not using VS Code and follow along. We are past that. We are going to run some of this stuff. Now, the point for this part is not necessarily to be able to memorize or remember it. I want you guys to focus more on just understanding what's happening here, because if you understand what's happening, you can look up the specifics later on, right? The more important thing is, and actually, let me say this, unless you are working in some kind of role that requires you to use this all the time, chances are you're not going to be using this very frequently. Once you make your SSH key, then you have the thing you need to connect, right? So again, the point here is not to memorize these commands. The point is to just understand what's happening and why. So we're using this SSH keygen command to generate a key. And this is usually just, again, like an action that you do to set up some kind of workflow. And once you do it, you shouldn't have to do it again, especially if you're in an organization where there is a dedicated admin team or DevOps team that handles permissions. But you still want to understand at some foundational level what is happening. So we create a key. Again, these are the different encryption methods. You might recognize this from the AWS console when we were making the EC2 earlier. You could use either or. ED 25519 is a newer protocol, but it doesn't. You could use either or. I'm just going to stick with RSA for now. I'm going to give it my email. So use whatever email you feel, or actually use whatever email is assigned to your GitHub account. I don't remember what email I'm using. I'm just going to use this. And go to platoon.org. And we do a -f to specify the file location. And actually a file name, sorry, the path to the file name. So I'm going to call this GitHub AICO. Mine already exists. No, I don't want to overwrite. I'm just going to call it GitHub AICO2, and it's generated. And if we use concatenate, we'll be able to see the contents of this file. Is this secure because I'm sharing my screen? Not really, but we're not actually going to be using this key for anything. I'll be deleting it in a sec anyway, so no harm. I didn't do the ls. 2 already exists. Wow. Okay, let me try 3. Okay. It's going to ask you to enter a passphrase. It's easier not to, because if you forget the passphrase, then you're screwed. You'll have to make a new one. There's no way to retrieve it. So I'm just going to hit enter and not do a passphrase. I'm going to confirm I don't want a passphrase. And there is my key. It's been created. And there's this like nice little, what is it, ASCII art, I guess, to make it look like, I don't know, a chip or something. And yeah, the keys random art image is. And then we're gonna, well, we could use concatenate to confirm the contents, right? We'll be seeing the exact same, or not the exact same, we'll be seeing something similar to this. Cat, what do I call it? So notice how I have to specify the path because I'm inside of my home directory. So if I do cat.ssh GitHub AICO3, then I'll be able to see it. Command K on a map to clear my screen. If I were not to include that path, then you wouldn't find it. So then I would have to go to .ssh. I'm now in that directory. It's telling me here. Now I can call the cat command on that file without specifying the path. And again, that's the difference between relative and absolute paths. What are relative paths? Relative paths are paths that are relative to your current working location. So if I were to make a directory here, not feeling very creative, so I'm just going to call it today's date. The relative path to this would be just this, right? And if I were up one directory, the relative path to that would be .ssh 050226. Now, absolute paths are called absolute because they start at the root of your system. And that would be your /. If I do a pwd, it's not showing me tilde. Tilde is just a symbol that represents this. This is the actual path that I'm in. So whenever I type tilde, it's actually the exact same thing as typing the entire path, right? So .sh, same thing as tilde / .ssh. An absolute path starts with the root directory. And because tilde is a symbol for a path that starts at the root directory, starting with a tilde is writing out an absolute path. No matter where you are on your system, an absolute path will work the exact same way because you're specifying the exact path from root. So like there's no room for misinterpretation on the machine's part. Whereas with a relative path, you have to be mindful of where you are in your system's folder hierarchy. Okay. If you haven't installed it, a nifty little command is called tree. You could do a brew install tree, and it lets you quickly generate a folder hierarchy tree of where you are. And that could be a handy little thing, especially if you don't like using VS Code, which has the, I don't know what you'd call this, your navigator panel, I think is what it's called. So that's the tree package. Okay. So we've made our SSH key. Now that we've made the SSH key, we have to tell the SSH agent, hey, here's our key. So let's do an eval. Again, like this is like some, I don't memorize this. Like this just feels like junk to me. Like why would I want to memorize this? But that's the because I don't work with this all the time, right? So I'm gonna run this because I have instructions telling me to do that. And then I'm gonna do SSH add .sh GitHub AICO-3. Oh, this first command, just to be clear, is just confirming that I have the SSH agent active. So PID generally represents a process that's running on your machine. And this just confirms that their agent is running. And because it's running, I can run SSH add with the key. Okay, identity has been added. Uh, there is a known hosts. So can't remember if that's if I do a concatenate unknown hosts, oof, it's going to show all of my my keys. This is where the key got written to, I believe. I was just doing that to just demonstrate like um how that file exists and that you could access it and see it. Okay, so I've added it. I should also notice that there's both the public key and the private key. So this the security method requires these two things. It generates these two things. And what we want to do is we want to copy the public file to GitHub. Now, this is saying that there are two ways to copy it. The better way, the preferred way, is to use a dedicated copy command versus showing it in your terminal, highlighting and copying, because PB copy does exactly what we want with no room for error, whereas highlighting is prone to human error. So let's just do it this way. GitHub-aico-.pub. This is going to copy the contents to our clipboard. Now, let's go back into GitHub. Let's go back into where we made our new key, or where we started to make our new key. And let's go ahead, give it a title, and then paste in the contents that we've copied. Add the key and authenticate if you're not authenticated. Let me pull up my authenticator app. Oh, I should probably choose one of these. I prefer this. It's quicker. Should be good to go. Already in use. Oh, did I? Oh, could have sworn I added the -3 to it. But I did. I'm going crazy here. Like, why is it telling me it's already in use? If you're, I hope you guys aren't seeing this. You guys should be seeing a success banner, or maybe no banner at all. That's throwing me off. Why did it, oh yeah, of course. I copied the wrong file. Okay, so now that I'm copying the right file, I can go ahead and add it. Okay. Cool. So that is what you should be seeing. You successfully added your key. All right. Let me know, raise your hands or comment if you aren't getting that, if you're running into any issues. Cool. All right, so we've done that. We've made our key locally. We've added it to our SSH agents, and we have added it to GitHub. So now we could test our connection. Oh, cool. Right. And if you guys have not gone over GH, probably should have noticed this too. There's a really nifty and useful command, I guess, package called GH, short for GitHub. Does it replace Git? No, it doesn't. It's supposed to be like a complementary set of commands in addition to Git. There are things that Git can do that GH cannot, and there are things that GH can do that Git cannot. And then there are things that both of them can do. Have both set up, have both installed. You'll generally be using Git more, so like Git pull, all that stuff. But GH is also pretty handy for things like creating a new repo. And we'll maybe demo that later during the React portion. Okay, so I'm going to test this. SH-T, you could probably assume that stands for test. And I'm going to pass in git at github.com. And it's telling me I have successfully authenticated. And this is a good message. It's just telling me, hey, your SSH works, but this is just a test. We don't actually want you connecting via shell. Okay. Now let's transfer that key to our EC2. It doesn't hurt to do this. So actually, those of you that made a folder this morning, awesome, because you could use that folder. And if you haven't made a folder, go ahead and make that folder. Again, we'll be deleting it, but here's your opportunity to get in an easy rep. You can run through these commands. You'll be able to push your key to the EC2. If you run into any issues, you can run into them now so that when you do this later on your own EC2, you should be good to go. All right, so we haven't given you guys your AWS access yet. Kim, did your script output the access keys and secrets?
No, well, it did, but I know as a part of what they do later on is they do run the AWS configure. So that does set up like their keys and stuff like that for AWS.
But we need to give it to them. So can you have the key also, or sorry, can you have the script also take in that same list of IAM students and have it output their key and secret?
Yeah, I can do that.
Okay, cool. So we will get a list, or not, well, we'll get a list ready, yes, but we'll also be giving you guys your individual keys and secrets, which you'll need to set up your AWS accounts locally. So we can't really demo these. I mean, I can, but you won't be able to run them without that. So let me see. I'll just show this real quick. If I do an AWS EC2, describe instances by itself. Let's see. I must have changed my settings. So I no longer have an AWS account loaded by default. I guess not. Let's do an AWS configure. You'll see the AWS configure command in one of the labs for later. When you run this, it just runs through, or I should say, when you run this without passing in any arguments, and we'll just run through in interactive mode the different key value pairs that are stored in this configuration file. It shows the default values or the existing values, I should say, inside of the brackets. And so I don't want to change any of this, which is why I'm just hitting enter. What I wanted to see was the last 4 digits of this key here. so I can confirm which profile I'm using. So where's AWS stored stuff? Well, .aws in our home directory. And it's going to have a config file. Is it config or configure? Let's try config. And in this config, shows what accounts I have set up. And it looks like my default. Okay, am I recording? Did I remember to record or did I not remember to record? I might have forgotten to record. Shoot.
No, you're still recording.
Oh, I am? Okay, cool.
Also, Chris has a question.
Oh, yeah, sure.
So I think I've got the authentication, the SSH working to my GitHub, but when I refresh my SSH keys page, my key still says that it's never used, but I did get a notice in my terminal that said, hey, you successfully authenticated. So I don't know if that takes a minute to update or am I using some other key to authenticate? I'm not really sure how to validate.
Okay, we'll be able to validate in a bit. And that just might be how they have this test command. Can you share your screen?
So here's where it starts. And then this was kind of throwing me for a loop. So here's what I copied over to here.
That looks good to me. Not seeing anything off. The way that GitHub set up the SSH test just might simply not ever record that it's been used. Let me check mine to see if I'm seeing the same thing.
So I tried to do this to show which keys have been loaded to my agent. So, I mean, this first part seems to match this key. So I'm taking this as good enough.
Yeah, good enough.
But I just assume this would eventually change to recently used or currently used, but that just might be a UI thing.
Right. That's definitely a logical assumption to make. I don't think they've programmed it that way though, because I'm looking at mine and I can confirm it also shows never used. So the test probably just doesn't is written maybe intentionally or not to update that. So that's fine.
Cool.
You're seeing
But this seemed to validate that, all right, I am using the right key, so I'll take that as a win.
cool. Awesome. Now let's see. Oh, where was I? Lost my browser. I have way too many browsers open. Okay, I think this is it. No, I lost it. Okay. Sharing screen. Okay. So we've added our key. Oh, right, the AWS part. And I'm sharing again. Oh, that's why I wanted to stop sharing. Whoops. I'm just looking at my credentials. I'm just confirming something. Okay, so I'm using my default key. Oh, okay. Whoops, don't want to use that. So let's, I forgot how I had this set up. So I don't use this a lot. I've got multiple configurations for AWS, and I am on the wrong one. So let's get onto the right one. Okay, so what is the, okay, if I run this, right. So that's something else that's confirming I'm on the right account. So let me do s- I think it's this. Whoops, I didn't mean Alice, I meant cat. What profiles do I have? Platoon org with no dash in between. Platoon. Cool. So as you can see, I've got multiple profiles. The default profile is actually the same as my Nova profile, which is what I was confirming with this command, AWS credentials. That just shows the contents of the credentials file, which for a brief second you saw had my access and secret keys. So you could rewatch the video, freeze frame to that, and I don't know, try to use them, I guess. Not that you would. Uh, and now I want to use export AWS profile to uh, set this AWS profile variable in my current terminal session to be Platoon-org. So now that when I run AWS commands, it's going to use the Platoon profile. Does that make sense? And it's okay if it doesn't.
I was trying to catch up with the commands on with the SSH, but I'm a little confused on the purpose of exporting your GitHub credentials to AWS, like
Yes.
big picture aspect,
Sure.
because now I'm lost in the details.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So let's back up a bit. So we actually aren't done. And that was just the first step. Uh, the reason that we do this is so that when we get onto the EC2, we can use our GitHub commands on the EC2. So this will allow us to uh, run .git commands like cloning and pulling down and pushing changes from the EC2. Otherwise, you would have to set up those credentials and that access directly in your terminal on the EC2, and you would have to do that every time you got onto the EC2. So by creating a key, a dedicated key, and exporting it to the EC2, every time you go onto that EC2, you'll be set up and ready to go. Cool.
Is
And
similar to basically what we do when we get into our repo, because we had to like authenticate it, and now we don't have to log in anymore when we're in our terminal. Is it basically the same thing? Because that was a good question, so I want to make sure I understand the answer.
yeah, exactly. That's
Okay, cool.
the same thing. Yes. So yeah, that's the great thing about like these these built-in configuration files and whatnot. They just add the convenience of through a one-time setup, getting you ready to go every time you need to get back to work. Okay.
But I guess the downside is you're never really gonna end up memorizing those commands for the most part if you're always having it automated through the config file.
Right, exactly. Now this is where good note-taking really helps. And I don't know, I haven't looked through like the videos from earlier this week, for example, but did anyone go through setting up any kind of like note-taking standard, even as an example? Okay, I'll take that as a no. All right.
Well, I think for the lab, for the very first lesson, there's a part where where we're asked to find a notes file and then sort of set that up. And I think that's also part of the very first challenge too, to mess around with that notes file. So I think some of us have done that.
Mhm. Okay, cool. But just the file, right? So you guys didn't actually install like any extensions for note-taking?
In my case, I didn't.
Okay. Well, I'll maybe run through some examples later. I mentioned somebody asked for me to demo AutoJump, so I'll do that, and I'll also demo some other packages, some other useful extensions and stuff later on. Kenny asked, is the AWS profile our Git username? No. The AWS profile is whatever you want to set it to. So when we run the AWS configure command, it's going to store everything that you're giving it into a default uh, profile, I believe. And that's what we see here, default. You have to manually go into that config file and add the profile that you want, right? So how do we do that? I would do code.aws/config. That opens up my config file. And here is where I could add my accounts, right? And I believe this works sequentially. So if I move this above default, it should use this even before default. Now, I don't think I've ever had a practical reason for doing this, so I've never really tested it. I'm just presuming from other random bits of memory in my mind that this should be the behavior. And if, I could be wrong, I could be misremembering. But this is what you would edit to add your additional profiles. Now, this is just one part of it. The other part is to create your .aws credentials file, or not really create because it already should be created once you've done AWS configure. But if you open up that file, you'll see these same profiles in brackets. But instead of these settings, these configurations, you'll see your secret and access key that's associated with that profile. So with these two things, you'll be able to set your profile. You just want to make sure that the name inside each file matches. Does that answer your question, Kenny?
For the most part, I'm just kind of lost.
Okay. Yeah, this will make a lot more sense once you have your AWS key and secret, um, which we'll be getting to you shortly. Okay. Kim, where are we at with that, by the way?
Actually, the original script that I built pulled it, so I just reran it and I reshared a zipped file with all of their names. So we just have to unzip it and then share those CSVs in Slack.
Okay. Can you actually Slack everyone's key and secret to them individually? So like unzip it on your local machine, then like just send the everyone's creds to them.
Yep, you got it.
Cool. All right, Kenny, you will have your access key and secret key in just a sec, and so will everyone. And then you'll be able to set up your AWS credentials file. Basically, what you're going to want to do, the easiest way to do this, like let's not even worry about config and credentials right now because you'll only have one profile. This will become more important once you have multiple profiles, right? But for now, to start, you'll just be doing AWS configure. And when you run configure, you're not going to see this exact same thing. It's actually going to be like an empty set of brackets. And this is where you're going to paste the access key that Kim gives you. And then you hit enter, and it's going to ask you for the secret access key that Kim gives you. And then here, you could just leave it as is. It might have a default setting, it might not. And then you'll be asked for one more thing, and that's your output format. Just leave it as JSON. There's no need to change this right now. Okay. So while we're waiting on those keys to get created, let's talk a bit about regions, which are pretty much central to how to work inside of AWS. When you first get on here later on, you'll be able to access this once you have your key and secret. If you click up here, you'll notice it says United States, Ohio. This is where you get to select your regions. Don't use US 1, West 1. Do not use US West 1. If we're using the right IAM credentials, and if we're not, we'll just update them, then you should be blocked from using West 1. We should only be using East 1, East 2, and West 2. And generally, we'll try to want to choose one and stick with it. And how many students do we have? Like between 16 and 18. Ideally, we would have about the same number of students in each region. So like 6 of you using US East 1, 6 of you using 2, and 6 of you using West 2. I guess we didn't think ahead to assign those. So we'll just figure it out. Cool. Yeah, you guys could work it amongst yourselves. Who wants to do what regions? Cool.
For the regions, is there any value doing one that's closest to our geographical location?
Yeah, you probably get slightly faster um, response times,
Okay.
but it's probably not going to be noticeable.
Is there a region that's got better availability?
I'm sure there's going to be like variations, and it's probably going to also like depend on like the load that each region has. And behind the scenes, I'm sure AWS will, scale accordingly.
Okay.
But for our purposes, the reason we care is because US West 1 is more expensive, which is why we block it.
Ah, that's where all the tech bros are at.
Probably. Though I do believe that there have been more and more tech bros gathering in Texas these past several years, right? And I think that's still a growing trend.
Huntsville kind of outgrew itself. As I know Huntsville was pretty popular for a while
Interesting.
in Alabama.
I did not know that.
But now everybody's over in Austin, so
Yeah, I've been wanting to visit Austin, just haven't had a chance to. And for that reason, just curious about the growing tech scene there. Okay, let's see, where are we at? I think right? We're waiting on those keys in order to be able to run through the rest of this. And
Can I steal just a little bit more time before we jump on?
sure,
I'm having a hard time visualizing the difference between the code platoon space and the code platoon DevOps
sure.
space in GitHub. That back and forth transition's throwing me off all day.
Okay. Yes. All right. So these are different organizations belonging to Platoon. And they allow us to, actually, let me do it this way. They allow us to just have separation of concerns. Is it extra trouble to use two different orgs? Yes. But the Platoon DevOps repo has our challenges, and there are a lot of challenges. Before this cohort, if you imagine, like there are 20 weeks now, like we've changed the pattern so that challenges are all grouped into a week. If there are 20 weeks where you have challenges, and there are like 5 sessions each week, and each session may have more than one challenge repo, then that's a lot of repos. We basically don't want to clutter the main Platoon org with repositories. That's really the only distinction. That's really the only reason why we have these two organizations.
Okay, and which one of these should I be forking from? The challenges?
Yes. I mean, best practice would be to fork in general, but again, this is also very subjective. The best practices will very much depend on where you land professionally. Your organization will establish those best practices for you if they deviate from the norm, right? So some orgs will insist that you fork and you follow like those best practices, and other orgs might not care. And at the org level, if they don't care, maybe your team cares and they have their own method. Uh, for us, do you have to fork? I personally encourage it just so you have that extra muscle memory of having to work with a fork. But is it absolutely critical? Like, is anything going to break if you don't? No. The curriculum will exist in Platoon. That should be the only repository that you'll want from Platoon. And I'm sorry, not this repo. Our curriculum will be here, AICO Echo. Platoon's got 3 programs, and it's the one that we are all in right now. The challenges will be in the Platoon DevOps. So the links should be up to date in curriculum. And whenever they're not, whenever there is a broken link, just let us know and we'll fix it. But yes, you'll generally be working down from the challenge repos themselves. And then you'll be making pull PRs and pushes to these repos. So let's run through that actually. I'm gonna go ahead.
Okay, so I think I'm in the wrong space then. Going through day one lab, I think there was a reference to a Delta students repo. So I need to actually go in and fork from DevOps our specific challenges.
Yes. Why? Hold on. Oh no, this is getting janky. Okay, so we got to fix that link. Also, we might just like stop using these separate repos for different cohorts. I think moving forward, we might just stick to one curriculum for every cohort. Just why is this hanging? The hell?
I don't think it's too complicated. I just feel like maybe we should have gone over that as a group, like on the first day, instead of like install fest, do everything, organize it however you want. I feel like we probably ended up with a lot of different, setups and decisions made along the line. That's just my 2 cents.
Well, that's totally fair, and like that definitely is something that we can take into consideration. I also believe everyone should have been like reminding you guys to uh, fill out the daily feedback forms. Uh, I was just told yesterday that they're not optional, they're mandatory, and that we should be following up with you when those aren't filled out. I personally don't like that rule, but it is what it is, right? So we'll try to we'll work that out. We'll get your feedback through those forms, but also feel free to just share them anytime during class. But yes, it would have been I'm sure it would have been helpful to be more intentional and to go over this distinction on day one.
And some best practices too. Just do we leave everything default? Do I add a little blurb to my repo so I know it's pulled in when I fork it? GitHub's kind of a new frontier for me, so
Okay. Yeah. Let's go over some of that right now. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to grab this and let's talk about like this pattern here, right? Like this is your normal pattern. You have in every repo a button for forking, and you have this box for grabbing the code URL. If I don't fork, notice how it shows Platoon DevOps. So it's going to be pulling from this repository. Now, if I do fork, first it walks me through this, and then it lets me specify which of my GitHub accounts I want to use. By default, we're going to be using the ones that we use for class. The description, yeah, you could add any blurb you want. You could also just leave it as is. And I'm going to create my fork. And you could change it to whatever you want because it's only going to impact your fork, not the original. So if it helps you to change it, then by all means, go for it. Now that I've forked this, this is where I will want to grab the URL. So I'm going to click on this code button, and you'll also notice that there are these multiple options. If you set up your SSH key from your local machine, you should be able to use this. You should also be able to use HTTPS because we've authenticated our local machines to connect with this. So I'm just going to stick with HTTPS. I'm going to copy this URL. And again, it's generally better to use a button if it's provided for you because we can trust it works versus manual execution, which is prone to human error, like maybe missing a character. So I'm going to hit the clipboard button. I'm going to go back to my terminal. Oh, right, I'm in cursor. And gonna auto jump to my AICO curriculum. And wait, no, I don't want to go here, do I? No, oh, right. We are separating out the labs and challenges. How now best practice for this. Definitely don't be throwing all of this stuff inside of the AICO curriculum because the AICO curriculum is its own repository. When you start to add files and folders to anything that is registered as a Git repository, Git's going to track it, and you might not want that. What do I mean by that? If I go to my curriculum, and again, this is what I forked down, so it's going to be AICO echo. If I do an ls-a, I'm going to see a .git directory. That's one way of knowing that this is a GitHub repository. The other way is just do a git status, and it's telling me that I'm in a repository. Let's go up one directory, which is not a Git repo, and let's run a git status. Oh, actually, this is a bad example because my entire don't do what I'm doing. What I'm doing is a mess. I made my entire home directory a Git repo. I thought it would have been like a cool little experiment. It wasn't. I definitely do not do this on my other machine, but this is why we're seeing this. So let's see, what can I do?
I had that same thought, so I'm glad you said not to do that.
It just gets messy. It's like way more maintenance than it's worth. I thought it would be really handy to like just do this and be able to like have my environment set up and ready to go on any machine. That's not that's not how it worked at all. So I don't know if I have an example of a repository or any location that's not a repository because if I go home, if I go up, sorry, one directory, and I don't know if anyone's gone over this. If they haven't, that's what the dot dot is. So dot represents your current working directory, and dot dot represents one directory up, right? So I was originally inside of my home directory. We see that if I do a cd or change directory with a dot, I don't go anywhere because I'm essentially just moving into the same directory I'm already in. But now if I do a cd dot dot, it's going to take me up one directory. And I can confirm that by doing an ls. It shows the directory I was in before. Now, if I try to do a git status here, I think it's going to complain because I might not have like the the permissions to do so. I think I might have tried this once or twice, but let's just see it anyway. Okay, cool. This is what you see when your repository is not a Git repository. It's going to just tell you that there's no .git folder. Now this might be where I can't do anything like make a test. Yeah, yep. Let's try this. Okay. Now, if I wanted to make this a directory, a Git directory, I should say, sorry, I would run first. Let's confirm again that's not. And let's confirm as well that there's no .git directory. If I wanted to make this a Git directory, I would just do a git init. And of course, I have to do sudo right now. I also need to type correctly. Okay, and it initialized this repo. Now I have a .git directory. So does this repo live in GitHub right now? Exactly, it doesn't. This is just a local repository. I would have to do a push to get it onto GitHub, or I could use the very handy gh command, gh repo create. It's going to ask me through an interactive session what I want to do. I'm going to say, I want to push this existing repo that I just created to, and I use the period symbol to specify hold on. How to do that? Okay. Push an existing repository. Oh, that's weird. Why is okay, that's interesting. All right, again, this whole sudo thing, right? I had to sudo this directory, so my jBautista user doesn't have the permission to do anything in this directory. I have to sudo to do like anything that has any kind of block permissions, right? So it's giving me this sort of a red herring of a message, right? It's telling me it's not a Git repository, even though we know it was. But as far as the system could tell, as far as my operating system could tell, it wasn't because for the user jBautista, it's not. This .git only exists for the super user, which is why I have to sudo. But anyway, now we could continue with this interactive session. You could name the repository. Let's just use the default value. And then I could specify what organization I want to push to. And I will hit enter. I could give it a description and I could specify whatever I need to specify. And this is why I love the gh command. It just goes through everything you need to do. You don't have to memorize anything. And it even provides these default values for you, right? Whenever you see a capital letter, that's an indication that that's the default value without being so verbose. And so if I hit enter without specifying anything, I can trust it's going to say yes. And it's also providing a default value here. I hit enter. And now I can command click this, and it's a repository. So that is why we use both Git and GH. Now, I know it could still be very abstract. So let's see. We don't use.
I would say it probably took me a year just to wrap my head around the concept that it's really just a folder that you're pulling down to your computer. Light bulb went off. So, okay, I can grasp that. I still don't understand the full flow of pushing to a branch. Main can see it, doesn't get merged. We've got 40 little side quests going around. So I don't know if we can do that today as well, just kind of the end to end. Push it here, that gets grabbed here, gets merged here.
Sure.
Because I'm terrified that I'm going to push something north to the cloud and then I'm going to jack up GitHub.
Yeah.
I know there's controls in place, but I can't get over the fear.
Totally makes sense. Let me see if I could just find these real quick because I want to show you. Where do I have these slides? Maybe did I put them inside of a? I might have also screen capped them in a lesson. So let me see. I used to have a very good slide deck for like visualizing this stuff. When did you guys go over Git?
I think it's lab 1 from day 1.
Okay.
And I think it isn't that simple, I believe. And I remember it was like section 4.8 or something. Yeah, add, commit, push changes.
Yes. There is though. I know like there are images that I made once upon a time that really show why do I not have everything? So many things are missing. I'm gonna have to look for this later on. I'll try to get back to it, but basically, right, it could definitely be confusing because like there's a lot of like nuance to it, right? Like what's a fork, what's a clone, what's a branch?
It's in so module 1, week 1, day 1 lessons.
Okay.
So everything day 1, week 1. It's within the install fest. Yep, and then lessons, and then the third one, Git, yeah. And I think, yeah. Is that one? Yeah.
Yes. Thank you. Okay, great, perfect. All right, so let's go through this, get up in a nutshell. So generally, when you have a repository, it's going to be either local or on GitHub servers. Just for the sake of I don't know, context, just for like this conversation right now, we'll talk about repositories as being on GitHub's own servers. And GitHub can have multiple servers, or sorry, multiple repositories, and it exists on their servers, right? When you have your own account and you make a repository, that also lives on their servers. And so, along with everybody else's accounts, every org's accounts, etc., you can make a fork of anyone's repository, and that fork still lives on the servers. And you could have branches. Branches now are also individual to the repositories. But best practice is you want to use the same branch that you're working on in your fork as you would in the main or the source repository. And your teammate could be using a different branch because they might be working on a different feature. But once you both pushed that repository, you'll be able to pull down from his branch and see that code into your local fork. So that's the behavior for branches. And again, the branches, well, to start, exist only for the repos that they were created in. Now let's see this in action. So I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna get out of this. I'm gonna remove this directory completely. mrf test. Oh no. What did I do? Let me sudo this because I don't really want this. And we are going to go ahead and pull down that challenge. If you already have the challenge pulled down, then go ahead and pull down next week's challenge repo. So let's actually do that.
And then just out of curiosity, so the branch, so you have the main repository and you fork. So on that same fork, is that also like creating a branch automatically? Or what did it mean by, like, for example, you had a fork and then you had two people, or you had a repository, two people with forks of that same repository, and then it said branch one and then branch two. Like, that's where I'm having trouble. Like, is it like a version that you extracted basically or forked, and so that branch creates from that version, or?
Think of it as like a hierarchy. At the top level, you've got your repository, and then one level down is where you have your forks, right? These two layers still live on the servers, but then inside of those layers are like sublayers. So let's actually look at this way. Repository. Let's call it source repository. Sure, whatever. And these autocompletes. And then your source repository has branches. Now you could also have a fork. Oh, stop doing that. How do I turn off autocomplete? And inside that fork, you can have its own branches. Does that help a bit? So like branches belong to this source repository, and the fork can also belong to that source repository. Within that fork, you can have your own branches. And let's look at it this way too. Let's look at
So essentially, like, the branches are just like extra directories or files you add into it. Oh, okay, okay. I thought it was like a whole separate thing. Okay, I think I'm beginning to understand.
okay. Okay. Yeah, and let's look at it this way as well. So I'm going to create a fork for week 2. Let's give that a sec. Let's also update this one. So now side by side, you're going to see that I have, well, let's do it this way just because it might make more sense this way. On the left side, I have the source repository. And then on the right side, I have my fork. Whenever you have a fork, you'll be able to see here where it's forked from. Might not be the most intuitive location, but that's where it is. That's where it lives. And you can see there aren't any forks of your forks, and generally you don't want a fork of a fork. So just don't even complicate it like that. Just work at this layer of abstraction. When we look at the branches, they're going to be unique to that repo, to that, whether it's a source repository or a fork. And if I make a branch for one, we'll see that it doesn't exist for the other. So let's first clone this down so we have it locally and we're able to work with it. So here's our next abstraction layer. Now we could have a clone. We could also have a clone of the source repository, which again is going to have its own branches. But this is essentially how we're navigating. When we make a fork and we make a clone of that fork, the clone exists locally. Clones always exist locally. Technically, they're repositories, right? Yes. But again, for the sake of this context, this conversation, let's use the terminology that the repository refers to, like, or let's call it the remote repository. Let's call it the remote. So your remote repos live on the servers, and then your local clones live locally. And they will essentially bind to wherever you created the clone from. And that's what this action is. When you grab this URL, sorry, I want this one, and you run let's see, what's today's date? 05/2/26. Oh, well, I guess it already exists. Let me go into there. When you do a git clone your fork, it's going to clone down your fork. And we see that here, right? Let's rename this real quick to a fork. So it's clear that it's a fork, right? By the way, to rename things in your terminal, you're just going to use the move command. You're going to pass in the thing you want to change and the thing you want to change it to. So I'm going to rename this to fork. Now, if we do an ls, we'll see that. Now, I'm also going to do the same thing with the source repository. And now we see that we have both, right? So let's exit out of here. So we're done with this. Let's go to our labs. I'm using auto jump. And I'm going to go to, again, this directory 05/02/26, Command K to clear, and do an ls. Now we see the same thing, right? Let's go into the source repo for one and then the fork in the other. Now let's do a get status in each. Both are clean, both are in the origin main branch. Now, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to write git checkout, and this is to switch to a different branch. I have to pass in the -b flag for the branch option. I'm going to pass in a name, my local feature. I'm working on a feature. That's the scenario. I'm going to check out this branch. And now if I do a get status, it's going to confirm I'm on that branch, right? Let's make a file. Touch hello world.txt. I made a file. It's now inside of this repo along with the challenges. If I do a get status tells us, hey, the state of your repository, your clone, has changed. You've added a new file. So get status is probably one of the git commands you'll be using the most. It's just to keep yourself oriented and to confirm. Now we can add this. And what does adding mean? It's adding it to a commit. So you could think of everything that you're doing right now as not committed yet. You're making changes, but you're not done making changes. You're not done until you commit to those changes. So I'm going to commit this hello world to my branch. And now if I do a git status, it's going to show green, and it's going to tell me these are the changes that you'll be committing. Now, I said I was going to commit it, and there's actually another layer in between that, and that's what we're seeing right now, right? This is not committed yet. It's staged for committing. This is so if you decide, oh, I actually don't want this, then you can go ahead and undo that, right? And this actually happens quite a lot. Like let's say I had a .env file, and you'll see this a lot moving forward. Does anyone know what .env stands for?
Environment, I guess it's the config file.
Exactly, exactly, exactly. So your environment file is where you're very likely going to be storing your variables like my application secret key or whatever, right? So you don't want to push this to your repository because anything that gets pushed to GitHub will be publicly visible, or at least visible to anyone that has access to that repo, if it's internal to your organization or if it's shared with a colleague or friend. So you never want to move sensitive data into a repo. Now, something I like to do is I'm impatient. So when I add changes, I love just doing a git add dash, or sorry, dot. And when you do a git add dot from the root of your repo, what do you think happens?
You commit everything that's in the working directory.
Exactly. So like right now, let's say, well, we see that I ran a git status. It's showing that there's a .env file. Let's say I didn't do a git status. Like I'm just in the zone with my code. I'm like ready to push the code. I'm like so excited. I'm just going to do a git add all just out of habit. And then I do a git push without doing any more checking. It's going to be pushed to the repo and it's going to be visible. That's why we have this additional layer uh, called staging.
Question there. So when you do push it, it doesn't push it to your fork. It pushes it back to the main branch or to the main repository.
Right now, it will push to my fork. But let's actually go into that in a bit more detail. First, let's remove this .env. Or should we? Yeah, let's just remove it. So what I could do is git rm, or in this case, it even tells you what you want to do. So git restore will just unstage this file without changing it in any way. So like it will still exist, but it's not going to be staged, right? So if I do a git status, we see first off we see the file still there. Or sorry, we see the file still there once I do a -a, and if I do a git status again, we see that it's red. It's now untracked, which is what we want. So let's do a git commit now that we're ready to commit these changes. And this is basically confirming I want to add hello world. I don't want to add .env. And then we're going to do a -m for a commit message. Push new feature. Cool. Now it has pushed my change. Where did it push to? If we refresh here, we don't see anything. But if we refresh here, am I the right thing? Oh, sorry, I didn't push. What am I doing? So I've committed my changes, but now there's another step, right? So my changes are saved now, like they're ready to go. When I do a git status, it says nothing added to commit, but untracked files present. And so again, like now when I do a git status, it's just showing me like any additional changes that haven't been tracked yet. So I've only committed, but I haven't pushed. Now that I push, I can specify where I want to push to. So first off, we're not going to use -f. It's for forcing. So let's not use that. Let's not listen to this autocomplete.
I thought that was fork.
Yes, and that definitely looks like it, right? But it's forced, so let's not do that. And also, this coincidentally just says fork because it's auto-completing to a repo that it just has a fork named remote. I normally don't name my remotes fork. Like I just did it for this one instance, but of course it's the latest example, so it's showing. But I want to push to my origin, okay? And I don't want to push to main. I want to push to my individual branch, whatever I named this branch. I already forgot when I named it. So let me do a GW is not a real command. It's an alias for me. So it's just, okay, so I'm on my local feature, right? That's the branch name. Git push origin my local feature. So notice this pattern. First, I'm specifying my remote, and then I'm specifying my branch. My GW command is really just combining two commands. It's combining which branch I'm on, and it's combining that with the git remote command, which shows me what remotes I have currently associated with this clone. So now if I push this to this local feature, it confirms everything is good to go. If I refresh here, I now see these branches, right? So I see these branches here, but I don't see them here. I shouldn't see them here because they don't exist. As far as the source repository is concerned, they don't exist. They've never been pushed to it. It has no idea that this has ever been made because these are tracking different histories, right? So they're tracking different histories. That's just a part of its design. That's intentional. That's allowing for version control. If I have bad changes, like I added the .env file, it's not polluting the source repository. My coworkers won't be seeing that .env file because my mistake is going to be limited to my fork. So that's one of the benefits of having a fork. If you mess up, it doesn't mess up the source repository. So now, what if I wanted to push this to main? One of the cool things about GitHub is it tries to be as helpful as it can. It will often do things like showing the next step that you want to do, again, established sort of like by best practices. So it's telling me that I can create a pull request because that's sort of the intended flow, right? Once you push to your fork, you should probably make a pull request. So I could command click this link and it's going to automatically set up a pull request. Notice that it's going to the source organization, not my fork, because it's already been pushed to my fork, right? A pull request is requesting the source repository pull my changes from the fork into the source. And we see that here, right? We see this arrow pointing from the head repository, head being like the latest change in the history tree, to the source repository, the base repository. We also see what branches we will be pushing to. So if I follow this pattern, I'm going to be pushing my local feature to main. Best practices, depending on your org, they'll probably like have you specify what the feature is, then link to some ticket, which like this is just an example. So whatever, ticket.com. And that's just markdown syntax to create a URL. I could preview this to see if it's good to go, and it looks like it's good to go. So then I can make my pull request. Now, a coworker, a colleague, can now go to that same repository, and they don't see the changes yet, right? Because again, we want to be super intentional with all of these different steps for security purposes, for validation purposes. What we do see is a pull request. And in the pull requests, we see the changes that people have suggested. Let's look at Troy's pull request. I am reviewing his pull request. Looks like Kim has given it a thumbs up. It's telling me that this is adding a new solutions placeholder. Great. I like that. Kim loves to say LGIAG. I like to say LGTM. Looks good to me. Looks, oh, I always forget what this is. Kim, what is this again?
Let's give it a go.
Give it a go. Love it. Okay, so we have both given our approvals.
But don't merge.
But don't merge. Why not?
This was just a placeholder file to test. If you check the files changed, it's just adding a new file. This was in setting up our process and protections.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So don't do what I did, which was to just blindly assume, oh, there's a good review. It's probably good. Actually review the changes, right? Like that's what you want to do. That's the whole point of this whole process. So Troy saved me from making a critical mistake. I can go ahead and reject this. I don't know. No good. So I'm going to go ahead, close with a comment, and now this pull request has been resolved, right? If we go to pull requests, it's closed, and the changes have not been added to the main repository. Wherever that solutions folder is, it's not going to be there. Now, if we wanted to add this, either Kim or Troy would review this. I can't review it because it's my own PR. This is generally like a best practices kind of flow. We don't want users just pushing their own changes because there's no accountability in that. Best practice to always have at least one other engineer on your team or another team review your changes so that they're not just being made blindly. You always want to communicate in a work environment, right? Don't ever do anything in a vacuum. Okay. Uh, was that helpful? Has there been a lot? Okay, I see your hand, Chris. What's up?
So I was trying to follow along with pulling challenges for week 2, add in a text file just to see it locally. And then when I tried to push, I got a failed to push to my branch.
Okay. Let's see your screen.
It's probably the move.
So just a quick question. You probably mentioned this, and it kind of like maybe just passed through my mind. So when we are forking the challenges, are we doing it from our forked? So I think if I'm not mistaken, I think we forked the entire Platoon curriculum, right? So when we are forking the challenges, are we forking from our fork or from the Platoon AI Echo challenges?
I remember that Eric, he had us clone the week 1 challenges, and then we were asked to fork those week 1 challenges. Yeah, I mean that's what I recall from the structure he.
I think we have to fork first, then from our repo we clone.
Yes.
So that any changes we push in our remote, it doesn't go to the main code Platoon repo.
Exactly.
Okay, so we are doing it from our own, but we're cloning. Okay, got it. Thank
Well,
you.
and remember, Robbie, there are 2 repos, right? There's the AOCO, the course curriculum repo under Cloud Platoon or Code Platoon. And then there's the Code Platoon DevOps, which is where your challenges are located. Yeah.
Got it. Thank you. Yeah, yeah. So we are okay. I was just making sure I'm not doing it incorrectly. Okay, got it. Yep, yep.
Oh, by the way, sorry, Troy. I know the break is coming up and everything, but maybe just like 5 or 10 minutes. Can you look at my setup and help me out with my commits and stuff? Because yeah, that's something where I still have a bit of an issue.
Yeah, 100%. And everything that Julius just demoed, I have a working aid in the Slack channel, which has some screenshots and follows those steps that he just demoed. So that's there for folks as well.
Awesome. Awesome. Appreciate it, Troy. Sounds awesome. Okay, cool. Chris, walk us through.
Cool. So I think if my logic is correct, I've pulled down the week 2 challenges, put SEMO in there so I know this is my fork. Added this little text file in here. Committed my changes to the status to make sure everything's good. And then I tried to push it back to my origin.
Okay. So that origin is good. Like that's your remote. Do type git space remote space dash v v sorry.
Oh, V.
Just letter V. I believe V is for verbose. Anyway, that shows you what remotes you have set up, right? And this looks good. You already set up an upstream remote, which I didn't even go over, so you must have remembered that from earlier this week. And origin, you could see from here, origin is your fork, and upstream is the base repo that you forked from. So best practice is you will want to push to your fork first. So you do a git do a git checkout. It's just git checkout. Try git checkout. Oh no, I'm blanking. How do we see the branch that we're on? Okay, do a git branch.
Git branch.
Okay, so you never actually made a separate branch, which is why it's failing when you try to push to AICO challenges W2 CMO. That space is supposed to be where you specify the branch. Origin is an alias that already represents your fork. So by typing in origin, you're already specifying, I want to push this to my fork. So you don't need to pass in the name of that fork of that repo. You want to pass in the name of the branch. And right now, the only branch you have is main.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Like if he doesn't want any branches, then he can push it to his main if he wants, that is, by the command using like a git push origin main.
Yes,
So that's how he can push it right now, I guess.
exactly.
Well, git push origin should also just work.
Yes.
So I need to create a fork
No.
and then make a branch of my fork to do my work.
No, just type in git push origin.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Main is the default branch.
Now it should be in your fork, in your repo.
Perfect.
Yeah. So main is a default branch that's created every time. And that's why you're able to pass in git push origin without specifying main. Now, if you wanted to go to a different branch, yeah, you would do the git checkout -b for branch, and then the branch name. And then you would reference that whenever you want to push specifically to that branch.
Gotcha. And then what is it to determine what branch I'm on?
Git branch. Just try git branch. I forget what command I'm actually using in my alias. It's been a very long time.
Okay, so what can I do? Like a git switch back to main? So this should have everything that the original does.
Yes.
So if I so that lives under this, but if I I wasn't expecting to see that new file under this branch.
Oh, the reason is you made the branch after you've already created the file. Whenever you make a branch, it's just going to take the contents of your existing state. Does that make sense?
Now it looks like he was in new trash when he created that CMOL file.
Yeah,
Oh,
so I switched to new trash, made a little ls, make sure I was where I was supposed to be, touched a new file in here, switched back to main, did a ls, and still see my CMO 1.
oh, okay. Let's see. When you made your, oh, okay, yeah, yeah, that's interesting.
So now I'm still in main, and it shows, hey, uh, so even though I did the work in the new trash branch, I could see it in the main.
Yes. Okay, so let me actually correct myself. You see it, but it's not tracked, right? So this is where if you're adding new files, so you're creating something new, it's going to persist. Where it wouldn't persist is if, like, let's say you had an existing file and you changed the contents of that file. I believe what happens is it would raise a conflict and it would tell you that there's a conflict. And then you have to resolve that conflict because basically you have two different versions of that same file in these different branches. And when you switch to one branch, it's going to have to ask you to decide, okay, which version do you want? Because you don't have a CMO1.txt in your main, it's not causing any kind of conflict. It's just showing that there's a file here that's not tracked in main.
So from main, could I huh, what is this? Just git commit or git commit dash m. This is where I put my message on the commit, right?
Right, right. If you do it without the dash M, it's just going to ask you in the next line. So dash
Okay.
is like a convenience thing.
And then this is where I stuffed things up last time. Git push origin main.
Cool.
So this is how we're supposed to be doing our homework, right? We do our work inside here, push it back here, and then
Push it
from
to your
here,
do not
push
push,
it.
because if we have everyone pushing the main, then there's going to be conflicts, right? Now, we're not going to be merging these, so technically you all could push to main, but that still opens up the risk of somebody merging those changes. So better practice to be would be to just push to your own branch.
And then from here, how do I trigger it to let you guys know, hey, I did my homework. Here's my 2 files.
Sure. If it doesn't show you the pull request in the terminal, which sometimes it doesn't, depending on how you set it up. You can go to this screen that you're in right now, and you can do contribute. And that's how you would open up a pull request from the UI.
And then on your side, you'll see, hey, Chris just submitted this. And then do you guys just review what the changes were and then deny the pull request?
Probably, yeah. And then we'll also like be able to like leave a review, leave comments, etc.
Okay. All right, I'll have to mess this up probably 3 or 4 more times, but I'm making progress. We got further than I did on Thursday.
Awesome. Cool. Okay, let's break here. We are a little over, so like let's maybe meet back at 1:15. Sound good? Cool.
Julius, can you open a couple